LaForce will join us momentarily. I'm JB Long. Amazing to have Michael Crabtree with us because ever since I saw him play for this program, Lubbock has become a bucket list destination for me.
Seeing him on the pregame show, it gets the juices flowing. So much college football history in the stadium, so many miles of passing yards here, and they're looking to add to that again this season here in Lubbock.
The facilities are incredible. The vibes are immaculate. What about the football program?
The football program has got that new car smell about it right now, right? You look at the brand new facility that they got into in 2024. You look at the top-rated transfer class by most outlets that's rolling into town. You got Matt Leftwich taking over the offense, coming over from Texas State. You've got Sheil Wood on the other side coming over from Houston as a defensive coordinator, and you've got a bullseye on your back, both nationally and here in the Big 12 with all that in mind.
Yeah, that transfer portal class got the country's attention. Locally, there was another story, though, that Allie will bring us all the details on.
Well, gentlemen, for as much as the $20 million roster made headlines for Texas Tech, so did the infamous and controversial tortilla throw. I'm here in the student section. This is where it all goes down. You see me holding a tortilla here. Everybody, you got your tortillas ready? Everybody in the student section is ready to rock with their tortillas. So right before kick, they throw them up in the air. Sometimes they hit the field. This is where the controversy begins. This is a tradition that dates back to the late 1980s, okay? It used to be lids, they changed it to tortillas, and then there's another theory that a broadcaster called Lubbock, Texas, the Tortilla Factory. Well, the fans took that to heart, and ever since they've been throwing them before kick. But the conference voted 15-1 against any items being thrown on the field. Of course, the one person who voted for it was Texas Tech Athletic Director Kirby Hoka. Hey, how do you throw the tortillas if you get covered up? I'm still here, though, don't worry. So I have my tortilla ready. Kirby told me, listen, I know there's a rule against this now in the conference, and it can lead to a 15-yard penalty if it happens 3 times in a row. So the first 2 times, if an item hits the field, it's just a warning, but the section can get kicked out. The 3rd time, it's a 15-yard penalty. However, Coach told me, go for the 50. Just throw it out there. Kirby Hoka gave me the same advice, the athletic director here at Texas Tech. Coach also gave me a little bit of advice. He said you got to take the tortilla, you got to rip a hole out of the middle. All right, guys, let me see that tortilla. Is this good? Big hole in the middle?
Spin it and then you launch it.
Okay, you spin it and then you launch it. So I'm ready to go. Whenever the fans are ready, I'm ready.
Here we go.
I'm going for the 50. Kirby said I could.
Stay with us. Ali Hariska's got it teed up and ready to boot it away. The return man deep for Texas Tech, Micah Hudson and Jacoby Williams, a receiver and a tailback respectively. So great to be here in week 2. The Kent State Golden Flashes having snapped their losing streak, now on the road to challenge a top 25 opponents. The ball's teed up. Ali's tortilla is ready. They fly and we're underway. From the 10. It's Hudson. Takes contact above the 20. And hard to identify which one belongs to LaForce.
A flurry of tortillas in the air. We'll see how Allie did. She got a lot of good advice there. Lost in a sea. You never have to coach effort with Allie LaForce.
I hate to see any carb go to waste, but this is the one occasion in which I'm willing to make an exception for that matter.
A tradition unlike any other, and a great way to start an awesome day here in Lubbock, Texas.
The home crowd so glad to see Baron Morton at the switch as they begin week 2 with Jacoby Williams on the ground. This offense racked up over 600 total yards last week. Balanced run and pass, but in a crowded Big 12 quarterback conversation, might Morton be a little bit overlooked here in September?
Certainly his head coach feels that way. Joey McGuire talked about the chip that his quarterback has on his shoulder, maybe not always being mentioned in the same conversation as some of the other returning quarterbacks in this conference.
They will move quickly. On platform throw here, rising to make the catch. It's Reggie Virgil who scored the first touchdown of the season for Texas Tech. Last week it measured 9 yards. A gain of 6 here.
For Morton, all he's done since he's been here is win. Texas Tech 15-4 and starts where he doesn't leave with injury. Obviously, that was part of the scare last week in their opener against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Fans happy to see him back out in the field and looking great.
We saw the starting offensive line. We will not neglect the trenches on this show. I can promise you that. Williams busts a tackle behind his pads to the 41-yard line.
Jacoby Williams, the ball carrier.
Atiq Muhammad, a junior defensive back with the tackle for defensive coordinator Cherokee Valeria and Kent State. They've gone through a ton of offseason turmoil, but coming off an FCS victory.
We talked to Mark Carney, their head coach. He said, you've got to expect to win now and work to do that.
Third down, only need a couple. Slipping a tackle. Williams appears to have enough. They're replacing the school's rushing king, Taj Brooks, who went for back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons. And they're also rushing this year without their projected starter, Quinton Joyner.
A big blow for them, but a great opportunity for two backs they have a ton of confidence in. And Jacoby Williams no more is the guy that's got that home run threat that can make guys miss at the second level. But you saw still running with his pads underneath him there.
Rush coming after Morton, able to swing it out. Cameron Dickey in space with a couple of positive yards. He's their other back, and he earned praise from Coach McGuire as the team's offensive MVP in summer camp.
Both of these guys can catch the ball out of the backfield, run well, pass protect.
From the left side, Virgil, who was hobbled after that first catch, hauls in another. He's got midfield, another third down coming for the Red Raiders.
Reggie Virgil, part of that class, his past 3 seasons at Miami of Ohio on the Biletnikoff watch list entering this season. And you see right here, just a quick slant ball, little behind him, with 2 mouthpieces.
He's got a catch for each of those mouthpieces so far, yes. Free play here potentially. Heaving from his heels. Flagged down in the secondary as well, as Virgil was the go-to target. Tech might have their choice of penalties here. Jair Rollison was the corner in coverage, a sophomore for Kent State. From Northeast Ohio, about an hour drive from Cleveland.
See right over the ball here, get him to jump, and a great
there are 2
job
fouls
by
on the play,
Sheridan
both
Wilson.
on the defense. Offside, number 94. That penalty is declined. Pass interference, defense number 22. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
The words of Tim Rich, our referee. They'll take the greater of those 2 penalties, and they are now in Golden Flash's territory on the pass interference.
Jair Rollison, the guilty party there. The alpha in that defensive back room. Coach Valeria said he came in and immediately established his presence on the back end.
Off the play fake. Baron Morton reloads. End zone. Virgil got it. 35 yards. And for the second week in a row, Reggie Virgil strikes first.
What a great play design here. We haven't called his name yet, but watch wide receiver number 3, Coy Aiken, hold the attention of the defense on the back end. Little switch route, and then he buys up the eyes of the safety right there. You get the post behind for Reggie Virgil and strike up the band for the first time today.
Mike, this is the first meeting between these programs, but Kent State, no stranger to Reggie Virgil and vice versa. He made his first career start in the MAC against KSU for Miami, Ohio back in 2022. Last year had a 69-yard touchdown against them, a 35-yarder here today. Stone Harrington caps the opening drive with the extra points. 12 possessions this season for Texas Tech. They've all scored.
The offense has looked like a well-oiled machine to start the season. And there's nothing easy about that when you've got as many new parts as they do up front in that receiver room. But it helps having a veteran signal caller. Great job by Baron Morton just putting the ball out in front of him. They expect big things from Reggie Virgil this year, and you saw him having the first touchdown of the season. There was a clear motive to try and get him involved early and often as they open up this passing attack in a way that's deeply familiar around here in Lubbock.
They're replacing a 1,000-yard receiver in Josh Kelly. He's on that Houston practice squad. Got a chance to play on Sundays, perhaps as soon as tomorrow with the Texans banged up at that receiver position. See the scoring drive for top 25, Texas Tech. All right, now it gets real, or maybe the realist. I love you. Thanks for being with me on that one.
Rock solid and in lockstep as always, brother.
The 100-yard game winner last week. We suspect he will not get many opportunities today. decides to take a knee as the tortillas fly again. They do want to feature him more in their offense today in this two-quarterback system. Our first look will be the senior from Pasadena, California, C.J. Montez.
Won the quarterback battle with Drew DeShields, who we'll also see out there today. But the coaches lauded his leadership, his accuracy with the football. He's a high completion percentage player, was incredibly productive, especially going back to 2023 in his season at Fordham, where he was second team All-Patriot League. They want to see him get the ball out of his hands quick, get your foot in the ground and let it rip, was the coaching point from offensive coordinator Clay Patterson against the defensive front for Texas Tech that we know has speed, power, and everything that you could want in the skill set.
Yeah, there's Liam Neeson shades of good luck here. The challenge today for both of these quarterbacks for the visitors. Gavin Garcia is the tailback. He flips to the left hip, a shin-high snap, and off to the center. No patting the baby back there at quarterback today. The incompletion looking for J.J. Etheridge.
You see 21 Cade Walford there in that wide receiver room. Over 100 yards receiving on 2 catches last week. He's a big play waiting to happen, former running back. Expect to see him all over the field today.
Got to look there, interim head coach Matt Carney. He's been dealt a tough hand, but looking to ride the wave of victory from last week at Kent State on the road now. He says this is not a field trip. And so far, it's not going to be nearly as fun as any field trip that I went on in elementary school.
No, certainly not. Different challenges with this one. But for Mark Carney, trying to build on what they experienced last week, your first win in 21 games, he said there were players back from last year's team that were emotional seeing that moment for the team, but now you've got to fix in your preparation that determination to expect to win.
Texas Tech has earned the right to rush the passer. 3rd down and long on the opening sequence. Donovan Delaney Jr. is the new tailback. Montez adjusting at scrimmage. 8 to snap it. A 4-man rush from Texas Tech. The throw comes out. It's dropped at the 30. Would have been a long way to go for Etheridge, but 3 and out for Kent State. They will punt it away.
And that's the difficulty on the outside, especially in those 3rd and long situations. The defense, coordinated by Shield Wood, can sit back in zone, have their eyes on the quarterback here, and just wait to come up and make a play on the when they throw it short. We saw the ball in the dirt there and drop. Little bit of angst on the side of the Kent State offense to start this game, and understandably so given the caliber of defense they're facing.
Now, Tristan Gentry will get the first nod at punt returner today for Texas Tech, as Jake Stokel, who's so new he doesn't even have a roster listing yet for Kent State, the Australian, puts it in the air. Wobbly spiral. Gentry backs up and escorts it out of bounds at the 30. So a touchdown drive for Baron Morton and Texas Tech, followed by a 3 and out from the defense. Red Raiders rolling early in Lubbock. Stokel is so new to Kent State. He just arrived from Australia in early August, and this might be a new to football mistake as you see the knee down as he received that punt.
Low snap, dips low to grab it, and that knee now going to set this Texas Tech offense up at the 12-yard line of Kent State. Just a brutal break for a team already coming in here with a tough battle ahead of them.
So instead of their own 30, how about the +12 for Baron Morton, who surveys the scene? His team was 8 for 8 in the red zone last week in a 60-point victory. Cameron Dickey motions out to empty. Clap for the snap. Clean platform, drives one to the hashes. Bobbled, but secured. That's a completion to Giancarlos Miller, who's going to see a bigger role in his 2nd season with Tech.
A tight end room they're excited about. Mac Leftwich said, my background is in 10 personnel, spread them out, no tight ends on the field, and he's got 2 he believes can be dynamic pass catchers and give them a real advantage, especially down here.
Into the belly of Dickey. He runs over a backer to the 1.
When in doubt in the low red zone, hand it off behind your big, well-paid offensive line. Here's Mac Leftwich in his first season over here, last 2 at Texas State. One of the better offenses in the country, really helped turn that group around, and trying to do the same here on the back of a quarterback that he believes is one of the best in the country.
New set of downs and goal from the 2. Terrence Carter Jr. in motion, leading the way for Dickey, who punches it in.
Johnson in the end zone. How's that for cohesion for a group up front with plenty of important portal players? As Cameron Dickey, Mr. Reliable in that backfield, gets it all the way to pay dirt.
It is one of the most experienced offensive lines in college football. Not all of them here in Lubbock necessarily, but behind Clay McGuire, their position coach, it has the potential to be a dominant group. One passing touchdown to Reggie Virgil. Now a rushing score for the second week in a row. It's Cameron Dickey.
And what a great job by Terrence Carter on the block. He's viewed as more of the pass catcher. He's 14 yards shy of 1,000 career yards. Would be again, one of 7 FBS tight ends with as much. But you look there, him coming inside out, being able to seal, and he actually gets a 2-bagger right there. Not 1, but 2 blocks on the play to spring his running back.
Well, all 11 last Saturday, their first 2 in a span of 1 minute and 56 seconds. No punts so far for Texas Tech, and that's become a story because Jack Burgess had to get like appreciation social media love. Yeah. All he did was hold last week. He didn't even get a chance to put the ball in the air.
His family and his girlfriend have come out here twice and not gotten to see him punt once.
They are going to challenge themselves, though. DeRillis Clark able to maintain his balance, and he's dropped at the 19-yard line. So a return of 17 yards after Kent State got a 100-yard game winner a week ago. Does look like Montez again. Drew DeShields, freshman backup. He has wheels, but the plan was coming in a couple of possessions, maybe 3 for their starter before they make any switches.
And certainly the wheels on DeShields. They said we haven't even fully seen all the way revved up to 100. They believe he can be a guy athletically as gifted as a Haynes King or an Avery Johnson that you'd see here in the Big 12 in terms of what he can afford you in the quarterback run game.
Kent State is without former Minnesota tailback Jordan Rubin. He has a foot injury. Did travel. He's here, but is not dressed as they begin a new possession with a run. Gavin Garcia filling in the backfield with a yard. Nice to talk with Sheil Wood, who's got a reputation of immediate improvement wherever he goes. Army, Troy, Tulane, and Houston most recently.
And he's got a pair of dynamic edge rushers up front to work with. Said you might see more 4 down front than you normally would, because when you've got Romello Height on one side, David Bailey on the other, both high-value transfers, you want to give them as many opportunities to impact the game as possible.
Montez. Wow, they arrive at his doorstep in a flash. We'll see if it's a sack officially. Right at the line, A.J. Holmes Jr. leading the charge on the defensive front.
Yep, you're going to see the corner blitz come from the short side of the field right here, combined with Romello Height getting that inside move on the tackle, just creating an opportunity for your edge rushers to make those tackles uncomfortable and add another defender to set up a 3rd and long again.
And they did give A.J. a sack, so Holmes, who came with his defensive coordinator from Houston, is in the box score here in Lubbock now. 3rd and long, the last place you want to be against this vaunted Texas Tech defense. Little bubble screen, long way to go. Red Raiders rally to the football, and Cade Wolford has nowhere to go. A pickup of a couple, and should be another punt coming.
We focus on all the newness.
Backer room. Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts flying over there to make the play with 2023 Big 12 defensive
freshman of the year. They've got an incredible group there. Jacob Rodriguez, their preseason biggest defensive player of the year. That group can run and hit when you've got space eaters up front like Lee Hunter. It gives you even more opportunities for that linebacker group to be active.
Gentry gets another return opportunity. Stokel after the low snap and the miscue with the knee down on his first attempt. Hoping for a cleaner operation here. Boy, he made that adjustment. It's nearly blocked. Perhaps Tech got a piece. Got a knack for that under McGuire. Takes a Kent State roll all the way down inside the 25-yard line. It was A.J. McCarty who got the fingertips extended. Did he get a fingernail on it?
How about on the field?
Looks like it. Adjusted and fielding it. Maybe got that pinky on it. but a great roll for Kent State on the punt. Texas Tech takes over when we return.
We enjoyed our time with head coach Joey McGuire here in Lubbock yesterday, and it didn't sound like much of a decision whether or not Baron Morton was going to play, in part because of the recovery, in part because Mikey told us he was going to fight me to play, and I didn't feel like fighting him.
No, a ruthless competitor. Said his ankle moved just right to avoid anything major, and they want to keep him in rhythm after a strong start to the season last week.
Give it to the motion man, Jacoby Williams, from a two-back set. He was split out. And look, I think we can all see this collision course shaping up with Utah, right? They've got pros on their offensive line. Tech's got pros on the defensive line. But to win that game on the road, they need him healthy. Bounces in the pocket, and deals. Sideline, alone. Did he secure it before he went out of bounds? He did not. Terrence Carter Jr. would love to have that one back.
Had him on the wheel going outside and had to turn back for that ball just a bit and couldn't quite reel it in. Again, Terrence Carter, the transfer from Louisiana, on the cusp of some impressive milestones. Could be the 11th active FBS tight end with 1,000 career yards if he gets just 14 more. So would have gone over on that play, and maybe the moment weighing on him heavy.
I loved his debut. A couple of touchdowns. He recovered a fumble. He took a direct snap on a two-point try, and that was all in the first quarter. Out of his hand quickly. Really felt the rush there. Now into space. Jacoby Williams is special.
Great job by Baron Morton. Feels the pressure bearing down on him, knows exactly where his outlet is, and gets the ball to his playmaker in space.
Williams stays in. Play fake. Morton well protected. Spins one. End zone. Caught! He drops it in the bucket. Coy Aiken reels it in. 42 yards.
Go back a play before, you're going to see the pressure coming off this side from Kent State. Running back releases for a big gain from Jacoby Williams. And then the next play, we got the double move from Aiken, streaking wide open up that seam. Great throw and catch.
Sixth straight game with multiple touchdown passes for Baron Morton, the longest streak in FBS, as Stone Harrington stripes another extra points. The Bear Raid is back in Lubbock.
And Coy Aiken, the Cowboy himself, you're going to watch up here, sells it inside with the head fake, and then breaks straight up field. The safety bites. And just another dynamic weapon. Aiken wearing that number 3. Given out to a player on each side of the ball that best embodies the brand, that toughness that's the hallmark of Red Raider football under Joey McGuire.
They call him Cowboy Coy. For a little bit of context, his father is a college rodeo coach. Coy was into it as well as youth. In fact, at age 10, as the story goes, a horse broke his leg, Mike, so his feet are different sizes. He's got a 14 on his left and a size 12 cleat on his right.
Seemed to work just well out there. I don't know which one he leaned into on that cut, but highly effective. And that toughness, we saw him at practice. That guy is cut up and clearly built to run.
It was our understanding they would not give DeRealis Clark many chances today, but I think thoroughly vetting their kick coverage unit, and so far they've been airtight.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Joey McGuire to challenge every phase of their team right now and make sure they're up to par. Special teams coach Kenny Perry, known coach for a long time, a legend here in the Texas high school football community. Great chance for them to get some valuable reps right now. We saw them go deep in the roster, as we'll see Kent State now go deep in their roster at quarterback for our first look at Drew DeShields today.
You think it's time because of his running ability?
I think so. Going up against a defensive front like this, you've got to have that option. A quarterback that can move both in the scheme and out of scheme to make those guys stop and think a bit might help.
Just an incredible story of perseverance. Freshman from Beloit, Ohio, went to West Branch, about 25 miles southeast of Kent, and he gets a rude welcome in Lubbock. Ooh. David Bailey, the one they've all been talking about.
Been a bunch of NFL scouts out here this week, and many of them showing up to see the Stanford transfer, David Bailey, who gets a one-on-one matchup and just immediately sheds the left tackle. Speed to power, and that's why Coach said you can't tap the baby in the pocket. It's got to be one hitch and go.
Joey McGuire was asked this summer why David Bailey, and his response was, what would the Eagles do? They'd add another defensive lineman, and that's exactly what Tech did here. Nowhere to run. This defense has been stout.
The big fella in the middle, Lee Hunter, helping out with that one. Preseason All Big 12 first. The transfer from UCF. Among this front full of Cadillacs, JB, he's your diesel engine. He's your space eater. He's the one clearing out room for Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts in the back end. And now earning the right to rush the passer himself on 3rd and mile.
Danger zone here for Judas Shields, the freshman, and Kent State, and they're going to talk it over. The Shields came into the game on the Golden Flash's 3rd drive last week as well, seeing live action for the first time since high school. He had missed a couple of years with knee injuries. The coaching staff calling him the most resilient kid they've been around.
Clay Patterson, their offensive coordinator, said the only day I've ever seen him down was the day the injuries happened. Besides that, he's always upbeat, always has a positive attitude. They're really excited about his future here.
Of course, hasn't even scratched the surface in terms of what he's capable of. When they drop the Avery Johnson at Kansas State or Haynes King comp at Georgia Tech, it gives you a sense of his upside, doesn't it?
It does. They really think he's got another gear still that he can tap into in the ground game, and backed up like this. And I think going forward for Kent State, as they've seen the offensive line having trouble with this defensive front, you're going to need draws. You're going to need screens out on the perimeter. You're going to need your quarterback maybe buying time and break and contain something, just so that this D-line can't totally pin their ears back and rush uninhibited.
Got to have some fortitude to challenge 3rd and long from empty here. He's going to motion it back in to help protect him. That's Cade Wolford. So he started his career as a running back, caught a couple of touchdowns as a receiver last week. Skylar Gill-Howard, who's another name you need to know on this front for Texas Tech, comes up with a 3rd down stop.
The Northern Illinois transfer was probably the name we heard the most this week. People wonder all the time about the culture you can create when you've got transfer players coming in, especially in as many important spots as Texas Tech does. They said from day one, his voice was one that resonated in the locker room, and he's been one of the true leaders on this team.
Negative 17 yards on 10 plays so far for Kent State as they punt it again. Gentry finally gets a chance from above his 40. Going to cross the field with a block. Good starting field position once again for Baron Morton and the Red Raiders, who are 3 for 3. All
right, man, let's talk about some film.
Here we go. So we got 2 back right here. I have pretty bad eyes right here. When my eyes get off coy, I'm thinking I'm ripping the whole shot. Corner lifts. I put a ball in harm's way that wasn't needed to.
Your dad's an ex-coach. He was a great high school coach. What does he usually say to you?
Be needy, not greedy.
Be needy, not greedy. And right there, you didn't hear the old man's voice in your head. And young quarterbacks, be needy, not greedy.
For more access to Big 12 stars and their coaches, check out Field Study on the BR app and on YouTube. With Al LaForce and Mike Golick Jr., I'm JB Long. 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns for Baron Morton and his head coach, Joey McGuire. Morton is 8 of 9 through the air for 129. Good rushing success as well. Dickey ran for the score, and he tries the edge before slipping here. A.J. Campbell, a senior defensive lineman, nearest to him, will give him the tackle. Approaching the 4-minute mark, Red Raiders on the ball. A loss of 2 puts them behind the sticks. Look at this protection to spin it out wide and just overshot his target at the 40. John Carlos Miller running free.
Had a lot of space around him there, just sailed that ball. Miller, known as more of the inline blocker in that tight end room, a great guy at the point of attack on runs, and really the first couple negative plays we've seen for Texas Tech on offense. Now 3rd and about 12 yards. Chance for them to look at some plays and take a deep shot here, as they've been confident all game.
Before they can attempt this 3rd down to stoppage, and some frustration boiling
Second
over
charge
on the
time out of
Kent
the
State
half.
side.
Kent State, 30 seconds.
right at the 4-minute mark. Now, we know that Texas Tech is as aggressive as any college football program in the country on 4th down, and that does impact their 3rd down thinking and play sequencing.
Yeah, we always ask coaches, what do you do to get your team ready for that kind of 4th down aggressiveness? And Coach McGuire said they have what they call a magic number period. So at the start of every drive, their analytics guy holding the book is giving constant feedback to coach of, here's what we need to get to from this position on the field for us to be in go territory, for us to want to go on 4th down. So that communication from Coach McGuire to Matt Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, makes its way all the way down to Baron Morton, who knows going into the drive and going into the down, hey, here's what we would need on this play to go for it on 4th down. So maybe if you've got a check down that's in that range, you can feel comfortable making the smart play instead of feeling like you have to force it knowing you got 2 downs.
Line to gain if he does go for it all is the 43. Tech trying to avoid punting for the first time this season. They hit the crosser. Get in the hands of Caleb Douglas up to the 40, and that gives them something to think about.
Will we see our first punt of the season?
The unit is forming, the offense is giving way, and it might be Jack Burgess' time in Lubbock. How knowledgeable is this Tech crowd? They have been tracking it as closely as we have.
I'm a little surprised, JB, they didn't take the opportunity to work a 4th down play backed up here, but maybe do want to get their punter some work before you get to conference play as well.
Let's make sure he does punt it. And he does. For the first time this season, Wayne Harris signals fair catch with the flag down, takes it above his 10-yard line. So Burgess last week had family flown in from Australia. It was his sister and her boyfriend, we were told last week. Second time in his career that he's had family in from abroad, and both times he did not punt. So I think
during the kick, holding, receiving team number 21, half the distance to the goal and forcing the end of the kick. First down.
The next investment that, you know, the boosters need to make here in Lubbock is just like the non-stop.
Yep, you're going to have to get that direct flight working to try and show him some love. The social media account put the cut up together of him to show some love online, but on the other side for Kent State, special teams really been a struggle so far today. The first punt of the day, we know the punter's knee ends up hitting the turf and giving Texas Tech the ball inside the red zone already, and now backed up after a holding call. As we see Drew DeShields back in the game at quarterback.
The tight end in motion, and Garcia, the tailback, starting from his own end zone. Nice jump cut to his left to get 2 going forward. Ben Roberts gobbles him up there. Former Big 12 freshman of the year. Roberts compiled 190 tackles over his last 2 campaigns. And I got to think the linebackers are loving life right now in Lubbock.
It changes everything when you've got players up front like Skylar Gilhoward, like Lee Hunter, that are not only going to stress opposing offenses but eat up all that space. You have clear views of the rushing lanes and can get downhill and play fast.
Donovan Mulaney Jr., the tailback, flipping to the left side to protect his quarterback, who drives one. That was a strike up to the 16-yard line. Derelis Clark, who was somehow not the MAC Special Teams Player of the Week, despite that 4th quarter 100-yard kick return game winner.
Someone's going to have to explain that to me like I'm 5. Great protection here, and like Coach mentioned, let that back foot hit the ground, get the ball out. Now a 3rd and much more manageable here, where maybe we see the quarterback mobility used here in short yardage with Drew DeShields in the lineup.
Golden Flashes looking for their first down of week 2. Straight ahead into a wall, repelled by Jacob Rodriguez and the rest of this interior.
Just a mass of humanity. We mentioned they're going to change up the defensive looks a little bit. You've gotten a 3-down front on the last few plays, but everyone keying in. Romello Height coming from the other side, every linebacker getting downhill. And when you're met in the hole by Jacob Rodriguez and Skylar Gilhoward, that's a lot of leadership, that's a lot of mass. None of it good for the Kent State rushing attack.
By the way, I was proud of you for dropping the Gilhoward Northern Illinois history, knowing what he did to our Fighting Irish last fall.
An incredible day in South Bend. He deserves all the praise coming his way. This building loves him, too.
I mean, it's incredible. He's walked on at 2 different places and now finishing his career with the best roster he's ever been on. This is a shame. And not that the Tech offense needs any further assistance, but they will start in plus territory again. It's a rough afternoon so far for Jake Stokel, the new punter.
It does feel like fall. This is big guy football weather, JB, and I have to imagine this offensive line for Texas Tech loving it. The massive humanity protecting Baron Morton, led by Howard Sampson, the North Carolina transfer at left tackle. Just a massive human being.
That's Terrence Carter Jr. in motion. They run it from the gun again. Jacoby Williams behind his pads. Burrows down to the 30. Tell me more about this offensive line.
Yeah, this is a group. I mean, you look at Howard Sampson at left tackle that we talk about. Left guard, you've got Will Jados, who was playing left tackle for the last 4 years at Miami of Ohio, all coming together in a position group that requires a lot of continuity to be successful. As you see the scramble there by Morton to move the chains again for them. I have a soft spot in my heart for their right guard, though. Davion Carter, in a sea full of huge bodies up front. 6'8", 6'7", 6'5", 6'8", listed at 6 foot 295 on the roster, but a guy who is as good or better than anyone on this line in terms of production.
New set of downs after the Morton scramble. Good to see him step through pressure. Here come the golden flashes as he swings it out to his tailback. And Williams stopped at the 25-yard line. Davion Carter got that extra year of eligibility thanks to a ruling in favor of student athletes who competed at non-NCAA schools to begin their career. After one, it's all Tech. 3 touchdowns on the board, and you're watching Big 12 football. Opens a new season with 14 straight scoring drives before they punt. They take a 21-0 lead in the second quarter. Here's Allie LaForce with the head coach of Kent State, Matt Carney.
Well, Coach, coming off of that huge critical emotional win last week to a start like this, what are you looking for from the players and what are you reinforcing?
Yeah, we got to settle in, you know, a little bit. The first quarter, obviously great environment and the tortillas and all that. We got to settle in and play our brand of football. We haven't done that so far. They got out on us early here. We got to catch back up.
We know you have 2 worthy and eligible quarterbacks. You'd like to settle that competition before conference play. So what's the message to each of them and how will you use them the rest of the game?
Yeah, keep competing. It's a great opportunity to make plays against the top 25 defense, and we'll see where it takes us.
We appreciate you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Carney, interim head coach of the Kent State Golden Flashes. Jacoby Williams with lead blockers around the right side. Inside the 10 before he's shouldered out with first and goal. Joel Cordoba kept it out of the end zone for now.
Offensive line getting out and moving on the perimeter here. You see a good pin and pull run. Great job negotiating on the fly out there. Getting a couple blocks to spring their back.
Gain of 20. The sophomore from Beckville, Texas, stays in the backfield with Morton and pulls it out, looking to shoot end zone. Sailed that slants. Virgil, who already has a touchdown catch of 35 yards. All right, let's revisit the journey for Kent State and for Coach Carney. With Kenny Burns placed on administrative leave just prior to spring practice and ultimately dismissed, Carney was named the interim in April, with a national search scheduled to take place after the season. And then later in the summer, his defensive coordinator also left. So a ton of turmoil, a ton of transfer portal departures, especially on this defensive side of the ball. Morton wants to redeem himself, and it's busted up. Caleb Douglas was the target this time. Terrell Miller among those in coverage.
Last 2 throws for Baron Morton a little high, and this one a little bit behind here. Has Douglas coming inside in the slant. Same play as the last one that sailed overhead, and this time behind him and gives the DB a chance to make a play on the ball.
Looking right this time. Off frame again. Understood why he led his receiver to the pylon side as the defensive back was riding that inside shoulder. Angelo Stockstill, a sophomore defensive back.
Starts left, looks back right, and leads him over that way, and just not on the same page yet. And that's why being out here today and the way that Coach talked about with Baron Morton still important as they get valuable reps to continue to solidify that timing among quarterback and receiver. We know Caleb Douglas had a bad drop last week.
is Upton Belenfant getting his turn in the place-kicking game. He's good from 23 to expand the lead to 24.
So there we go, a coachable moment for Joey McGuire, for Mac Leftwich, in this offense. Executing in the red zone, paramount if this team is going to reach the places they want to go this season.
Celebrating 100 years of history here at Texas Tech with a 24-0 lead. Quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of our week on the road together, Mike.
A great look inside all these programs and a great look at Joey McGuire throughout this and the way he builds culture at this incredible university.
Dorilus Clark extends those arms and the ball sails over his shoulder for a touchback. How much of a heater are he and Texas Tech on? You might have seen they had that extended weather delay as part of their 60-point win last week, and they got another 5-star offensive tackle to commit during the weather delay.
Success always begets more success, but I also think word of mouth goes a long way. And when we got a chance to be around some of the players on this team and you hear the way they talk about Joey McGuire, who says, we want to do the things we say we're going to do. When the actions match the words, players see that, recruits see that, and it's so much easier for guys in the program now to want to show other guys, hey, this is a place you can be successful because the coaches are going to tell you the truth.
C.J. Montez back in at quarterback. He rolls the launch point to his right and in trouble, nearly threw it away. A.J. McCarty's going to take on a lot more this week and moving forward with Michael Dingle injured last week in the secondary.
Great response to all the guys up front on defense to try and move the pocket. The problem was David Bailey was not fooled, so you've got him in the quarterback's face. Ball comes out a little bit late, and the defense almost got their hands on one.
Still negative yardage total on the board for Kent State. They did pick up a first down earlier. Out to the perimeter. Ellie, get us back to the conversation about Joey McGuire and what he's established culturally here at Texas Tech.
Well, to your point, the players told us yesterday, I would do anything for that guy. He knows every person in the facility, from the players to the janitors. He treats everyone the exact same. And when we asked Coach McGuire about his philosophy and his method, he said, listen, my job and what I'm good at is bringing a team together, building a culture. I pour everything into that. He said the key is love them unconditionally. He said his mom's favorite article ever written about him said all this guy does is talk about love. Is this football thing really going to work? But apparently it is.
He's pretty serious about the football. He knows he's got his best team and a chance to pursue a Big 12 title. Garcia had it down at his shoelaces as he released out of the backfield. It's another fourth down punt coming.
Just really hard to get anything off right now with those guys in the backfield, but back to Coach McGuire and some of the ways he's able to do that. I thought it was really interesting. Talked about in the offseason, every Wednesday he would get a group of players together and have them go to a different breakfast restaurant around Lubbock. Not only to get out in the community for some guys that are new here, but just to get guys familiar with their teammates. And that kind of cohesion you've already seen leak over onto the football field. That stuff matters.
Charlie Durkin is the backup punter, and he might be ascending to the #1 role. That had the feel of a block. Did not come out cleanly. And one of the hallmarks of this McGuire program, coming after kicks, a dozen they've blocked. A.J. McCarty again with penetration.
Just a great design here. You've got a player taking out the shield, giving an open look to McCarty, who's got a clear path going towards the kick. Sure, there'll be a little conversation about diving around the punter. I was a big guy. I was never rushing the punt, but I was in enough meetings to know it's low hands through the block point. All these coachable moments. Again, one of Coach's best friends, Kenny Perry, the special teams coach, was loud and vocal at practice. He's a juice guy for this staff. And I'm sure going to have plenty of coaching points coming off this one.
He's also the mayor, right? Like the foodie authority for all things restaurant recommendation.
My kind of guy.
New drive begins with a run. Baron Morton still at the controls. They did mix in a new right tackle. Hunter Zambrano was kind of the first domino to fall in December, right, to start this tidal wave of transfers. And he steps in for Jacob Punton, redshirt freshman. Off play action. Put it on his number. Micah Hudson, a former 5-star. Biggest recruit in program history. back after a brief moment with Texas A&M.
You mentioned Zambrano before, was injured a bit this offseason in the spring and through camp, and so was late getting going, but they said they want to get him some reps with the one unit. They think he can be a really important player for them.
Approaching 200 total yards of offense and 24 points on the board for these Red Raiders. They've got Caleb Douglas in motion. Deep drop here all day for Morton. There is Douglas battling and steps out with 1st and goal, wearing that famed number 5. So great to have Crabtree in the studio today. Caleb Douglas, the senior, at receiver.
They're going to go fast. You saw that little bobble there, reminiscent of the drop last week, but a chance for redemption.
Gain of 29. They'll trust Dickey riding the surge of that offensive line. Down inside the 1.
You see right here, legs churning inside the pile. The big fella Howard Sampson pushing over the top. All 6'8", 340 pounds.
Wow.
You see them just caving in the left side. And there's growing pains, communication issues, but the effort and force undeniable.
Morton back to Dickey. And he's submarine. Credit Kent State defensively to make him snap it again.
Great job by C.J. Young, the linebacker. Filling down from the back end, just getting up under the feet of Cameron Dickey. Young led the defense in tackles last week. Started as a walk-on safety, earned a scholarship last year. One of the real leaders on this team as we get a timeout on the field.
First charge time out of the half, Texas Tech.
Morton's got a couple touchdown tosses through the air. Dickey's run one in from the 2 as well.
Hey, come here.
Saturday night is all right for a fight. Brace yourself for All Elite Wrestling Collision, live tonight at 8 Eastern on TNT, HBO Max. Baron Morton, who grew up the son of a local legend, James, here in town, who just retired after a great coaching career, including time at Lubbock, Monterey. The staff here at Texas Tech said he's like John Wayne, right? He doesn't want to get in anybody's way. He keeps to himself. In fact, Joe McGuire has to find ways to engage him.
He said his dad's a great guy, but being a coach, he understands, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I want to let Joey McGuire coach my son. And I want him to listen to all those points, not worry that I'm going to come over his shoulder with something contradictory. Classic ball coach.
So back on the doorstep for 3rd down and goal. After a couple of run stuffs from this Golden Flash defense, right back to Dickey, and he still can't drill his way in, despite a shove from this offensive line. And this almost feels like a challenge and a statement opportunity.
Has to be. If you're Matt Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, there's no doubt in your mind. This is a challenge to your guys up front. Go out there when it's obvious. Everyone in the stadium knows you're going to be running the football this year. You don't want any sort of bones about it. If I'm this offensive line, I'm demanding we hand this thing off and run it right up the gut.
Couple of tight ends in formation. Sheridan Wilson, the center, ready to snap it back to Morton. And on 4th down, they find a way to put it in the paint. Just like they always say, if you can't go through them, go around.
And going around the big fella on the left side, we've talked a lot about him. Pretty good work if you can get it. Great job by Cameron Dickey putting his foot in the ground and making something happen. Off this left side, the motion takes the defender away, opens up the void. And Cameron Dickey happy to fill it for another score for the Red Raiders.
Shout out Jason Llewellyn, right? The 3rd tight end. He's not going to get a lot of targets, it doesn't look like, in this offense. But when they need someone to line up next to Howard Sampson and cave down that edge, he did his job and paved the way to pay dirt. Stone Harrington with the extra point. 31-0 the new score for top 25 Texas Tech.
So all 3 phases right now truly coming out and setting the tone that Joey McGuire and this staff expect, given the talent discrepancy between these two teams.
Well, he thinks that Stone Harrington has a chance to lead the country in touchbacks if he wants to. Here's another run up to the ball. They've been allowing Darius Clark to get his hands on it, but look at how they push it away from him. Maybe the best starting field position of the day as they went a little too aggressively into that coffin corner. That's the latitude you have with a 31-point lead on your home field against Kent State, picked last in the MAC this year.
Yep, we know it's a difficult road ahead. We mentioned last year 0-12, 2-23 since the start of 2023. And with all the change that you mentioned from Mark Carney, the staff, and this team this offseason, it's the difficult challenge coming off a win of trying to avoid focusing too much on the outcomes and instead the process that led you to last week and trying to replicate it even against an opponent where you're overmatched. And an out-of-conference schedule we can talk about in a little bit that's certainly robust.
You know, Mark was an All-American quarterback at Fordham under Dave Clawson. Former Fordham quarterback C.J. Montez, one of 2 quarterbacks he's used here today. Pressure in his face and that throw off the mark.
There's just, you can't even get your back foot in the ground and try and go. Romello Heights in his lap feels like every other play. Vicious spin move there. Romello's a guy we talked to him, wants to work on finishing at the quarterback more this season. Said he was close a lot last year at Georgia Tech, but didn't get the quarterback down. Said your eyes can get really big when you're right by the QB.
They got 3 down, and Imarion Banks standing up on that edge. Looking to rush over left tackle. Coming after Montez. They flush him off his spot, but that's a well-designed screen. Gavin Garcia crossing the field. He's got the first down of the day for Kent State, and a ton more inside the 30. Brendan Jordan had to retrieve him deep in that secondary to pick up a 27.
You're going to see Romello Height coming screaming off the left side again, but great timing by the offensive line. And back here getting it out and then puts his foot in the ground going back across the field. The first big positive explosive for this Kent State offense. Let's see if you got time. You're near the red zone right now. Take a shot towards the end zone. Live dangerously.
Clay Patterson's the offensive coordinator for this group. He was a JUCO coach in Texas for a very long time. Though he told us he hadn't coached a game in this state in coming up on 8 years, so he's glad to be back in Texas. Look out here. Well, you wanted them to be aggressive, but there's only so much you can do, and Romello Heights is knocking on your door.
Yeah, you want to take a shot deep, but you got to have time to do it. And this has been the drive defined by Romello here. Skylar Gill-Howard coming up from the inside. So when you're the quarterback and you got all that edge pressure, but there's no safe harbor to step up on the inside, and you're trying to hold with that token play action cell there, there's just only so much you can do.
David Bailey rightly gets so much of the hype, but at every juncture along the way, this coaching staff was careful to make sure that Romello Height got his hype as well. Montez retreating. That one's batted. That one's picked, and we got action in Lubbock. Skylar Gill-Howard, a big man touchdown.
JB, I am levitating in this booth. Skylar Gill-Howard with the thick 6. The big man, rumbling, stumbling, bumbling into the end zone. We've heard about the leadership. We've seen the ability up front, but he gets a chance to show off the wheels on that play now. The concentration, the athleticism. Oh, I've never felt so alive. Whew. Anyone else sweaty?
Goal's gonna fly home on adrenaline. Skylar Gill-Howard, a walk-on at Upper Iowa, a walk-on at Northern Illinois, now part of a decorated transfer portal class. Give the assist to Lee Hunter, give the assist to the big paw of A.J. Holmes Jr. Golick, take us the rest of the way home.
Looked it all the way in and never looked back. Did he create some space there? The burst on the back end, the ball security going into the end zone. Prior preparation prevents poor performance, and that man was ready for his moment when it came there. That'll fire up a sideline. To see large excellence on display like that, there's simply nothing better in this life.
55 yards officially. We talked a lot about Romello Height in that sequence too. You pointed it out earlier. Romello was quick to say that when Skylar talks, his words are powerful. And you might think that given the entrenched leadership in this program that the newcomers would kind of have to just fall in line. But it sounds like Texas Tech went out of their way to empower players like Gil Howard, to empower players like Cole Wisniewski, who's an adult, right?
Yes.
And has lived a lot of life. To have a say in this offseason program and what this 25 season could become.
I think that says a lot about Joey McGuire and this staff having an eye for that. My dad always said it, and it's so true. You don't need a C on someone's chest to know who's the captain. That stuff happens naturally. Guys gravitate towards people that have that leadership ability, and some lead by example, some are quiet. He's someone that's comfortable. Romello Height said he addresses the defense every day. He's got something to say to those guys every day to set the tone for this team. So in addition to plays like you saw there, he's someone who does it in every aspect for this team. And you're right, for the guys on this defense, Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts, some of the guys that have been veterans and have played ball around here, to have the humility to understand, hey, we got someone that can help us get to the next level here in the way we all want to do, and to give him space to lead like that, I think says a lot about the nature of this locker room and program.
You know, Gil Howard went to the post-game podium last week. They brought him into the press conference, and he said he didn't want to take his jersey off because he's just loving being a Red Raider that much. I think he might make a repeat appearance at the mic after that 55-yard pick six, as Mike put it so eloquently.
Been waiting a long time to see one of those in person. Was waiting a long time to see this group in person. And you mentioned them loving it. JB, I always love getting the chance to talk to players, and we got a chance to talk to Behren Morton. We got a chance to talk to Romello Height. They both said Coach McGuire's the real deal. Said I would do anything for this guy, the way Allie told us about before. And I think that matters. They said Coach always has his door open. You can always go talk to him. Romello said, I feel like I have a relationship with my head coach in a way that's not always the case in this sport.
As for Mark Harney and Kent State, they just threw their first interception of this season. Now looking to get back on track offensively with Gavin Garcia, who authored their most productive offensive play in their first down.
That's the challenge for Kent State. Reset, next drive, all those things you say as a football coach in a team but are hard to do. But you had some success in that last drive to build on. You've got to flip the switch and try and go out and execute here on a third and manageable with some options closer to the sticks.
The change backs, it's Donovan Delaney. They need 3 on third down. Halfway home in this second period. 38 on the board for Texas Tech after that interception return. Montez going to scramble for a new set of downs.
And this is what they talked about, the veteran presence for Montez here. Sees the all-up look, but then you get a 3-man rush. So he's got time, he surveys the field, he sees the defense collapse a little too far down inside. A.J. McCarty, the guilty party there, and just calmly rolls right and keeps the chains moving.
First successful third down conversion of the game for Mark Harney and company. They're going to run the gauntlet in the non-conference this season before they settle into MAC play. Garcia back in the backfield. They shoot it to the visiting sideline and twist it down at the 45-yard line. It's Deshaun Martin, who did not play last week, but someone they wanted to look to often today. At Lubbock, at Tallahassee, at Norman.
Every year, Kent State has a non-conference schedule that looks like this. I know my friends at the Sickos Committee highlight it often, and it is a challenge. We understand the nature of a lot of these games and the ways that they can help in terms of the dollar amounts for these smaller programs, but it's also an opportunity to go out here and, if you're a player, show yourself on a big stage against quality NFL-bound opponents.
Try the right side here. It's Mark Harney's first trip to Lubbock. He does not have a Texas native on his roster. Kent Grit was kind of the previous rallying cry, and his is centered around habits. Not what you talk about, but what you do every down and every day. And this is one of those moments where they're establishing the habits that can define them this year.
Yeah, that kind of consistency. And we mentioned there's quarterback competition on the field, so if you're C.J. Montez, you're trying to go out there and show those habits and that you can be the guy to lead them into MAC play this season.
And Kent State short-handed at running back. We've seen a mix of Garcia and Donovan Delaney Jr., especially on third down. He goes in motion here. Where's the football? They find it at the 45. It never got back to the quarterback. A.J. Holmes Jr. thinks he's got possession.
Take a look at it here, JB, and you're right. The ball just never made its way back after the snap, completely stationary. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. It looked like the center checked it up.
The snap
almost.
was a legal backward pass, which was loose, recovered by Texas Tech. First down, Texas Tech.
Well, Dustin Noel, the junior center, just looked like he had second thoughts about sending that one back.
Looked like he's snapping it up, thinking he was under center. Tried to hold on to it, realized it was too late, and just another brutal turnover.
T Sports presented by Modelo. And this day has already seen a little bit of everything. Fireworks through the air with Baron Morton. A couple of weight room touchdowns from Cameron Dickey. And even a thick 6 from this daunting Texas Tech defense. But Kent State has bowed up a bit defensively as well on the doorstep and now here on first down.
And both sides of the ball for Kent State. You've seen a lot more fight these last couple series. Great hit by Mason Woods coming down and laying the lumber.
They call him the heart and soul of their defense, a senior linebacker. Jacoby Williams takes the handoff to the 40. Third down upcoming with 4.5 to go before the break. Gain of 5 on the ground. There's an injured Golden Flash.
Officials timeout for an injured player of the defense.
After taming the Golden Lions by 60 last week, now Tech playing host to the Golden Flashes out of the back. Jelani Davis, a senior from St. Louis, is down on the turf. He was their highest graded defender last week in their win over Merrimack. In fact, he combined on that fourth quarter stop in plus territory that preserved that win after the kickoff return for the go-ahead score.
Was a huge moment. You see him getting up right now. Glad to see him walking off under his own power, but that's a big-time play for them. We talked to Coach about that pervasive feeling of dread that can creep in when all of a sudden Merrimack takes the lead late before that touchdown by DeRealist. And he said his coaches had to go around the team and kind of remind these guys, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to be all right. Get them out of their own heads in that moment. I've been on sidelines in teams before you learned how to win. And that dread can sometimes creep in, that, oh, here we go again feeling when things go wrong. And breaking through that first time had to feel cathartic for this group.
I don't know that Tech will need 2 downs to get these 5, but this is the territory where they typically are in 4-down mode. Aiken picks it up on one throw out to the perimeter. And he tumbles inside the 30 with a fresh set of downs and 10 yards on that catch and run.
Completely agree, JB. They said over the 50-yard line, we're going to be aggressive on 4th down, but a great job by Aiken there. Bowing up and getting the tough yards off that quick wide receiver screen.
Baron Morton working through an injury this week. Swings one out to the near sideline, reminiscent of one of the all-time greats who played here and played last night in Brazil. Did not go Patrick Mahomes' way last night.
No, a lot of converted Chiefs fans around here in honor of Patrick. That was a tough outing. A great look at Jesse Minter's defense.
Through the left side. Pinballing off of contact. Great balance from Jacoby Williams. Another Tech first down.
Jacoby Williams has been running tough all day today. His first start came in the Liberty Bowl, 15 carries for 123 yards. And you look at his body type and you think more of a scat back, a guy that's going to get out on the edge. But look at him putting his shoulder down and delivering a blow at the second level.
That's kind of the preview of what life after Taj Brooks would be like for this rushing attack here in Lubbock. They're trusting a pair of sophomores in the backfield with Baron Morton. Looking to add to a 38-point lead. They'll move his launch point, throw it back. And that was behind his tailback, and I think by design probably best to avoid a charging pass rush and A.J. Campbell.
Yep, that's your veteran quarterback doing the right thing, seeing that cornerback coming down late and wanting to make sure. You're going to see out here all of a sudden your DB breaks on the ball at that last second on what's supposed to be a hopefully wide open wheel route. Live for second down, take a hit off your guy.
Wallace in one of those corners. They killed this play with a flag down.
False start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty.
And Mike, there's not much to pick at through 2 weeks of offense here for Texas Tech, but pre-snap penalties were a raw nerve last year. Not much last week. That was a positive indication. It's something that Coach McGuire wanted to build off of here today.
Absolutely, and when you've got a lead like this and it appears things are going your way across the board, you get to coach guys tough during the week. I know some of the biggest butt chewings I was ever on the receiving end of came after big time wins where everyone's feeling good, but it's about executing to our standards, not worrying about what the other team dictates.
Look at this. Some window dressing. More laundry down. Morton exhausts the play and then hums a fastball to the sideline. I'm not sure how Jacoby Williams caught that. A play that does not look like it will stand.
Holding. Offense number 70. 5-yard, 10-yard penalty, excuse me, second down.
So they've got both the tackles. First Sampson, now Ponton.
And JB, this is just what happens when it plays out of sync. This is supposed to go underneath, but Morton sees Antoine Campbell Jr. showing up there in the picture where that toss is supposed to go back. So he pulls out and is just trying to make something happen to want to avoid the worst possible outcome and mistake there. But now everything's out of sync for your offense up front in a way that puts the big guys in a tough spot.
Red Raiders going in reverse. Second down, 25. They put it on the perimeter with Reggie Virgil, and it's played spectacularly. Jair Rollison came to play. He's a sophomore from York, PA.
We mentioned before the emotional leader on their defense, and you see Terrence Carter leading out right now. He thinks that Virgil's going to cut to the outside and go around him. Not on the same page as they're going to let it go down to the 2-minute timeout here.
3rd and 22 awaits as we head to that 2-minute. This 2-minute timeout was brought to you by the Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. Earn unlimited 2% rewards on purchases. Terms apply. I want to congratulate Victor Cruz going into the UMass Hall of Fame today. Amazing two-deep we have, though, at TNT Sports with two-time Biletnikoff winner, consensus All-American Michael Crabtree in for our halftime programming. Back from that 2-minute timeout. 3rd down and long. Morton takes off. Runs out of room. It's kind of been disaster avoidance for Morton here recently, hasn't it been? Just not making that big mistake.
Exactly, which is the kind of maturity and restraint that you want from your quarterback. Penalties get you off schedule down in the red zone. You shoot yourself in the foot on this drive, so no need to compound the mistakes. That is part of the veteran difference, I think, when you've got a quarterback like Morton that's got so much football under his belt to understand, hey, we know what we're out here doing right now. We want to get good work in, but we also don't want to go and put the ball in harm's way.
All right, last week, Stone Harrington attempted his first career field goal. He was 1 for 1. 47 would, of course, be a new career long. And he stripes it. Stone Harrington have a day. 41-0.
Even the kickers are big around here. 6'3", 200 pounds. You see, doesn't skip arm day or leg day, clearly. JB, we got to go to walk through this week, and you see the size everywhere on this team. This is, as you look out across the landscape of the Big 12 college football, what Joey McGuire and this staff have built here is the kind of physically imposing, deep football team in the important areas along the trenches that are what the contenders for the conference championship, the college football playoff, are built like in this day and age, especially where to reach your goals of getting to a national championship and an expanded playoff, you got to win multiple games, and that depth is paramount. And you're seeing that size and depth on display all over the field.
Look, we'll talk about this more in the second half. We should probably stipulate it here. We know that, rankings and opportunities are not built on the backs of beating Arkansas Pine Bluff or Kent State here in 2025. The hill gets steeper, but they're preparing themselves in a very workmanlike fashion. Line dancing, bat flips, and crazy trick plays. Watch the Savannah Bananas turn baseball upside down. Catch Banana Ball every weekend on True TV and HBO Max. I have killed a airport connection or two with my 2 young boys with the Savannah Bananas multiple times.
Never been more jealous of one of my former teammates. Gary Streisky does a great job over with the SportsCenter crew. Got to moonlight with the Savannah Bananas, actually get in uniform and get down there. We can all dream, right, JB?
fulfilling lots of dreams today, including a Skylar Gill-Howard 55-yard pick six earlier in this second quarter. Gavin Garcia, who was on track to be the starter last year, but tore his ACL in the final scrimmage of the summer, is getting the lead back opportunities now. He's a fifth year and one of four players left from the 7-win team of 2021 for Kent State.
Steady in that backfield here. We've seen the last couple of drives. The screen's been good to you. Getting it out on the perimeter, some of these wide receivers, and certainly the run game more productive than we saw in the early first quarter.
See if nothing else, if they can keep their defense off the field one more time here before the half. Can they run the rest of this out? I don't know if Tech has any interest in using a timeout here to give themselves one more crack at it. 62 seconds left. They do.
Second charge time out of the half. Texas Tech.
And that's the right move. I don't know if we're going to see Baron Morton in the second half. He's gotten a lot of work here today. But getting a rep at situations early in the season, incredibly important. You got about a minute left here, 3rd and 8. And so if you're able to burn another timeout here and then get the ball back with maybe a little under a minute left and a chance to drive the field, you get a rep at that 2-minute drill. And you spend all training camp running those situations against each other here, but to get to go out and do it against an opponent, to react to things in real time. We've seen plenty of talk about 2-minute drill situations. Colorado Buffaloes against Georgia Tech, a lot of conversation about timeout usage. So great opportunities to go and try and get work on that when you can.
Next week it's Oregon State, the only other meeting with the Beavs, 1959. And I'm sure Barron doesn't want to go out today with his last memory of a throwaway, right? A completion and maybe another scoring drive would be much more preferable. First, his defense trying to get off the grass on 3rd down and 8 in the final minute of the opening half. Kent State will keep it on the ground. What a show of respect, right? On 3rd down and long. Force Kent State to either let it wind or use their final timeout, which they do with 55 seconds to go. John Curry, wow, it looks like a stroke of genius suddenly to have him, this local favorite, play in the star all offseason now that Michael Dingle is injured at that spot. Curry was the team's defensive MVP in the preseason, according to the staff.
Great depth there, too. We've called A.J. McCarty's name a couple of times tonight. Guy who started plenty of football for them last season, so to have both of them to supplement that loss at the position, invaluable for an important role in that defense. You know, so much of college football now, so much of football in general, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, and so having a player like that that can work in coverage, work in run fit's huge.
The 6th 3-and-out that this Texas Tech defense has forced. It's Durkin to punt, and he hustles this one away. Flags down from the 30. A chance to return. Tristan Gentry. Let's see if it stands.
Looks like that's in the area of holding, which always a shame. I feel for the returners doing all that work.
During the return, holding, return team number 27, 10-yard penalty enforced from the spot of the foul. First down.
All right, so an even longer field, 43 seconds, no timeouts. Let's go back to November of 08. Tech trailing, #1 Texas, final seconds. The two that Baron Morton grew up idolizing, Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree.
One of the most iconic plays and iconic scenes of my entire lifetime watching college football. I think we all remember just the strength, the dexterity it took. As you see, the shot of Graham Harrell visiting Baron Morton at his school back in the day.
At Lake Ridge Elementary, he told us. Unbelievable.
What an awesome full circle moment now to be here and be on the cusp with another good season, to potentially be another quarterback who could throw for over 10,000 yards in a Texas Tech uniform.
His numbers today, 15 of 22, so already more incompletions than all of last week combined for the quarterbacks. He's just shy of 200 yards. A couple of touchdowns, no turnovers.
The
Remember, for this under 2 minutes,
discussing
clock stops.
when the foul occurred. It was determined it was during the return, so it will be enforced from the spot of the foul.
All All right, so actually getting a little assist here, moving up, enforcing back from the spot of the foul. We're going to end up exactly in the same place we were lined up before.
Thanks for walking us through that one, Mike.
I like to take the complex and make it appear simple. It's the hallmark of football. Now we get set to go again. Under 2 minutes. Clock's going to stop every first down. Let's turn it loose.
Making the motion man. And a layer this in. And he nearly got there at the fingertips at the sideline. Great design, just missed on the execution.
Great angle here. That corner working towards the sideline and just out of the outstretched hands of Aiken.
Mike, suffice it to say, though, the slot suits him. That was a big preseason storyline, him moving inside to make room for and team with Reggie Virgil. Protection is there. Check it down, Dickey racing for the sideline, and he gets just shy of midfield. C.J. Young takes him out of bounds. 7 of the 10 they needed, 31 seconds left to work with.
That slot you mentioned gets a boost too with Terrence Carter coming over. They said their tight end can be a big slot for them at times, a great mismatch in the middle of the field, so plenty of different body types and skill sets to play with if you're Mac Leftwich.
He's up top in that 2-point stance with Virgil. That's where Morton looks. Comes off that read. Keeps the play alive and right on cue. It's TC. Oh, he steps through a tackle and runs over another. Rumbling to the 5 and an ovation from Lubbock. Terrence Carter Jr. over 1,000 career receiving yards.
And right up to the line.
Clock rolls, ball made ready for play. To the end zone, contested catch. Unbelievable. Reggie Virgil with his second. Touchdown, Texas Tech.
Perfect execution across the board on this drive. The big play to Terrence Carter sets it up. But then the one-on-one goal line fade for Reggie Virgil, arguably your best wide receiver. You see him slow the feet and then even getting held, just goes up and makes the strong catch. We'll get a look here and make sure he controls it all the way through the ground. Plenty of conversation about what is and isn't a catch in college football over the last couple of weeks, but that one, a no-doubter.
Reggie Virgil's prolific head-to-head career against Kent State continues on the MAC. Now in Big 12 country. A 35-yarder to begin the day. A 3-yard connection with Morton to cap the half.
And here's the play that set it all up. Again, Terrence Carter working to the left and just going to stay alive. Keep working across the field, and all of a sudden the defense eyes come up. And he's sitting wide open in the soft spot in the middle. And then the effort at the end here. You heard the crowd on their feet. That's the kind of stuff, even in a blowout, we'll get the sideline fired up for a player now well over 1,000 career receiving yards. Coming over from Louisiana and been instant success for this offense. And then again, the strength of Virgil there going up through the hold against the defensive back, Jair Rollison on the other side, who's one of their best players, heart and soul. That's good on good reps right there for the Red Raiders.
You know, Mike Terrence said after last week's win, this was the biggest crowd he's ever been in front of by a multiple. Like, he'd never played in front of 20,000 people before, much less 60,000. He brought them all to their feet before the halftime break today. So if that's it for Morton, 18 of 26, 258, 3 touchdowns. I thought you set it up perfectly. His defense gives him one more opportunity to finish with a good taste in his mouth today.
Absolutely. You want to end on a make, to use the basketball term, right? And it was a day where there's going to be some stuff to clean up, right? We saw instances where him and his receivers not on the same page. Down in the red zone, a couple of balls sail high, a little behind receivers in a way that give the defensive back a chance to make a play. But overall, a clean, mature performance for your quarterback.
A good note there, using 8 different receivers as well. And we're pumped to see Will Hammond equally. He could be the future of this program at quarterback. And if not to begin the third quarter, shortly thereafter, you would think that Tech will make a change. 48-0 after 2 quarters in week 2 in Lubbock. And back-to-back weeks shutting out their first half along to Texas Tech. The box score tilted heavily in their favor. Let's make sure we check on Mike Golick as we welcome you back to Lubbock. I'm JB Long. Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you for spending part of it with us. Have you come back down to earth?
I have ascended back to this mortal plane after an otherworldly first half from Texas Tech across the board, but certainly that defensive front making its presence felt. 3 sacks in that first half, 4 tackles for loss. The big man touchdown to punctuate it all. It's been a dominant start to this game for the Red Raiders.
They've kept Darius Clark, the talented return man, in check for Kent State, as well as we check in at halftime with Allie.
Hey guys, well, I asked Coach McGuire about big leads like this, and he said, listen, our players will hear a million times, the standard is the standard. Whoever goes in the game, there's a way that we're going to play, and they better play like it. He said through camp, we do practice a red and a black team, so the young guys, when they step on the field, they have had the reps before, so we expect them to be ready. He said we also tell them, if you want more, you have to earn more. Everything's an opportunity, guys. So, I mean, you're thinking about the opportunity here for Kent State, but Texas Tech is looking at it the same way.
That's really well said. Cheta Ofili, one of those looking to carve out a bigger role. He's on the edge, replacing the Cadillacs in front of him, as described by these coaching staffs. And Gavin Garcia has been carrying the load on the ground and not finding much success, as Jacob Rodriguez, the preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, who gives a lot of people around here Zach Thomas vibes, is in on the tackle.
Much smaller pads than Zach Thomas in the pictures that we've seen around here.
A generation has changed the equipment for sure.
For the better for sure. Drew DeShields getting the second half start here at quarterback for Kent State, trying to get something going offensively.
Now Wolford's in the backfield, and they use him as a decoy to set up this tunnel screen, and they break one here. Slicing across midfield with another chunk play. Been really difficult to come by. Wayne Harris, the redshirt freshman, with a catch and run of 26 yards.
You're going to watch the motion out of the backfield, getting all the eyes working east and west. And then watch here, Wayne's just going to buy some time, stutter his feet, and then get out in front of the offensive line for the middle screen. Great call, well executed. Screens, great against aggressive defensive fronts like you've got for Texas Tech, and been probably the main source of offense for Kent State today.
To the sideline to check their play. Garcia in the backfield. DeShields sets the laces and drives one into trouble, incomplete. Ashton Hampton, a new corner in the game in coverage there. Sebastian Brown, the target for the Golden Flashes.
These cornerbacks play up, play aggressive. We talked to Shield Wood. He said your corners can get up and get aggressive, so the quarterback's got to think about pulling the trigger into a tight window, and maybe that extra half second buys your defensive line the time they don't really need at this point, given the talent up front, to get home to the quarterback.
Jaden Cofield is in the game. Marion Banks, part of this interior defensive front. Let's see if they can push the pocket into DeShields' left. Nowhere to go. Just called his name. Jaden Cofield, a sophomore who had a key tackle to preserve the overtime win against a lesser opponent, Abilene Christian, last year. That game was on the mind of this program as they prepared to be heavy favorites against Kent State.
Yeah, they asked Joey McGuire, and does a loss like Northern Illinois over Notre Dame ring in your head? And he brought up, he said, no, Abilene Christian against us. It's a reminder that in these games, we see plenty of teams go out here and play below their standard. To Joey McGuire's point, Texas Tech been anything but that today.
I think they're just trolling you with that question, Mike.
Probably. And it hurts.
A sophomore from Austin, Texas, gets the visitors behind the chains here. Wolford again making an appearance in the backfield. Rolling away from pressure, DeShields will dirt it.
Well, we mentioned screens have been effective for Kent State. Linebacker Ben Roberts, he noticed. You're going to see him right in the middle of the screen here, just eyes on the running back the whole way. Sticks to Cade Walford, who we mentioned. Big play wide receiver, played running back last year. They've moved him all over the field. And this linebacker core and experience grew very aware of where 21 and white is.
Put Coy Aiken back in the punt return position. Like a punt return safe type mode here. He does signal fair catch and secures the possession above his 10-yard line. So 35 yards on the punt to give a long field to Will Hammond, another Austin product. Will or Wheels, Mike? Did you say you wanted me to call him today?
I tell you what, after last week's 64-yard scamper, Well, you saw Texas Tech social media take a little shot at the EA college football game developers for the lower than required speed number for Will Hammond. They said he can scoot, and he put that on display. So, yeah, we're going to see if wheels can stick. I don't feel good about it on the first one.
Don't want the adjusters tuning out at 48-0. Stick with us here for Will Hammond on in relief of Baron Morton, who played a solid first half. And before he can get this free throw away, they'll blow it dead with Laundry down. Adam Hill is going to be his tailback, it looks like. Adam, another freshman. RB3.
Offside. Defense number 6 with contact. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Mason Maddox in that neutral zone, and because of the contact, they couldn't let that play roll.
I'm sure Will Hammond's eyes were getting wide right away. Thought he might have that Aaron Rodgers shot downfield he could potentially take. Also shows you what this quarterback thinks about Will Hammond and the work they want to get him. Basically, the entire starting offensive line still out there. Hunter Zambrano would come in at right tackle. But across the board, Howard Sampson, Will Jados, Sheridan Wilson, Davion Carter, all still in the game to give their quarterback some really good reps with the quality group.
Yeah, both their top 2 tight ends, as well as they run it between the guards. A bruising physical carry there up to the 20 for Adam Hill. His head coach, Joe McGuire, said he went up to Adam before last week's game and said, Adam, what are you weighing today, as they're going through the stretching lines? Because he wanted to make sure Adam knew that they need to feel 230 pounds every time they hand him the rock. Was proud of him for running downhill. Wow, gets the perimeter here. Forget downhill. How about a sideline scamper all the way into Kent State territory? Atiq Muhammad ran him out.
He said, you want dynamic? I'm a chameleon. You're going to see him get up to the edge here. Defender on the edge just walks himself out of the picture. You saw Hunter Zambrano disappear, and so a wide open rushing lane for Adam Hill, who, as you mentioned, expected to get downhill, thud him up, but every once in a while you got to remind him.
A 37-yard dash. First possession of the third quarter for Texas Tech. They began with their worst starting field position, and Hill twisted down with a yard, maybe 2.
Great opportunity for him, too. Coach mentioned during camp he was running with the 3s, and when you're working with the 3 offensive line, you don't always get a lot of clean looks, so he's getting quality blocking out here and a chance to see what the picture looks like on schedule.
Now Hammond leaves the pocket, turns the corner. What's your speed rating?
That's got to be at least a 92, right? Captures the edge, turns on the jets immediately. Quite a bull rush on the perimeter right there. It looked like Mason Maddox on the D-line, pushing the offensive lineman back into Will Hammond's lap there.
Hammond stands 6'2", 210 pounds. They substituted, so Kent State has a chance to match. Back in the hands of Hill. A car crash after he gained the line. And I think they moved him back with that second effort, so they didn't give him the initial forward progress. He's actually short. Joel Cordoba making the stop.
And they're already signaling in the next play. Not going to waste time on anything else. They've got their 2 tight end look in already. Big personnel on the field. And you see Hammond in the pistol here, going to try and put it in the hands of this offensive line that, remember, got stuffed a couple times down by the goal line last half.
Play clock hits 5 here after that shift in formation. They will run it. Penetration. Kent State got there, and I don't think Hill keeps the drive alive. Yeah, it's a takeaway on downs.
This trip. Shout out to the folks at Evie Mae's Barbecue. Had a fantastic lunch there on Thursday this week. Great ribs, awesome brisket. And how about Spanky's yesterday? A little fried cheese. Really gets the blood pumping, gets the heart working. That's the fuel I've got going into the booth, so you can call a big man touchdown like we had from Skylar Gill-Howard in the first half.
New drive for Kent State begins with a run. Garcia turned back inside, and he swung there. Ball's knocked out. A chance for another Texas Tech takeaway. But they lost the scramble in the end. Wayne Harris comes up with possession.
Tell you what, JB, this Kent State team has been fighting. You just stop them on 4th and short. You've got disaster potentially striking again right here as you see Garcia carrying the ball a little loose. Great rip along that defensive front. Looked like a Marion Banks. And then a great play, your quarterback coming up being physical and Drew DeShields making a hit. These guys aren't rolling over even with the score as lopsided as it is.
Unorthodox way to pick up a first down, but they'll take it as the sun starts to break through a bit. Donovan Delaney Jr. gets a carry here. Before I forget, how about that tequila braised pork chop from La Serena last night? I'm still working through mine.
My body's kind of used to heartburn-inducing foods. We churn through this at an alarming rate, but delicious, beautiful scene. It's been awesome. We've had a great time this week in Lubbock, getting to see certainly this town, this program, the new facilities that they just opened up all here in person. It's impressive, the investment being seen and felt by everyone involved.
Another sellout here today. It truly is a unique corner of college football, and as much as you and I love this sport, this is a big bucket list box to check. I hope we can come back soon. DeShields dancing and whistles one to the sideline. It's incomplete. His target could not get possession before he went out of bounds. So it's third down and long again.
You are starting to see DeShields a little more comfortable moving around, using that athleticism in a way that helps buy him time against this defensive front, as we now have a player down for Kent State.
All Texas Tech, 48-0. A 1 of 9 day on third down for these Kent State Golden Flashes, and they've got 8 to go here. Just shy of midfield, and having just lost their right tackle, Garrett Masterson, was helped off the field. 4-man rush, pocket breaks down, QB takes off, and he's close. Initial spot, they gave it to him. First down, Kent State. We were told Drew DeShields has electric upside with his feet, and you see some of it here.
Exactly the kind of stuff you want to see from him. Braylon Rigsby bearing down from that left side of the rush. And the toughness to dive forward. We know if you slide, the ball ends up going down where you start the slide. So he throws his body into it, understanding they've got to move the chains. Their defense has been working overtime today.
And Jamarcus Hill, the other tackle, slides over to right just for some housekeeping, and Tyler Meadows comes in as the new offensive lineman for Kent State here. Positive territory, rolling off the play fake. The Raiders able to get some pressure there as Donovan Delaney Jr. can't come up with the catch. Second down.
We mentioned they said DeShields can have some of that Haynes King to him, some of that Avery Johnson. When you think of that, you think of a lot of what we just saw there. Motion, east-west action, zone read handoffs, things to try and create conflict and indecision in defenders in the right spot, so that eventually you can open up some lanes in the middle, and maybe all of a sudden Gavin Garcia and this running back room have a little bit more room to go against this stout defensive front.
Garcia returns to the backfield. Short set, ball up in the air. That's caught, but it's going the wrong way. Did see a pick six back in our first half. Red Raiders pursuing to the ball. You know, we touched on the fact that Shieldwood has a turnaround reputation, right? Everywhere he's been, he's shown immediate improvement. His challenge here is to take over a defense that gave up 35 points per game last year. What are some of those ingredients for you, Mike, that allow him to have year-over-year success?
Yeah, I think he stated it really well. You come in immediately and understand, I've got to fit what I do to the personnel that I have at each spot. I've got to understand the strengths of my coaching staff, and I've got to put them in the right positions. That's why he said, coming here, hey, I got 4 really good guys that can rush the passer. We've done more 3-down before. Let me get 4 guys on the field and give them those opportunities.
And DeShields just ran for a third down, running out of time here, and is taken out of bounds with just a short gain on 3rd and 11. So what do you do if you're Mark Carney? 7-minute mark, down 48, across midfield. Not field goal range.
No, certainly not. I think at this point, you've just got to keep going out here and trying to get reps with your offense. This is a plus 50 situation, 4th and 10. We've seen wide receiver screens work well for them. But obviously, you want to get something past the stick, so I expect them to try and get Drew DeShields on the move here a bit, buy him some time against the rush, and see if he can get one downfield far enough to get that first.
A.J. Holmes Jr., Braylon Rigsby, part of the pass rush that you could see arrive here. Garcia in the protect. DeShields, look out. That had no chance. Jacob Rodriguez and others on the rush. So a takeaway on down for the back at Cedar Hill High School. 4 years as a backup QB at Baylor, and then Matt Rule kind of guided him through the coaching profession. Mike Golick Jr., you know better than anyone what it's like to work with and for Dad. You take it from here.
Yeah, I know we sort of had a joking moment with Joey McGuire, a conversation I had at one point with a boss at my prior job of, are you dad or are you coach here? And he said it's all coach when we're inside the building, but just such a unique opportunity. Life moves fast and gets further apart the older that you get. The coaching profession especially, you saw the stop in Carolina, in Nebraska, you can get spread out. So to be in the same building, getting to go to work together every day, just such a unique and cool experience for this family. And the coaching staff believes they got tougher. That was what one of the assistants said to Joey McGuire. We got tougher when your son joined the staff because he's grown up absorbing everything that you're about as a football coach.
Well, Will Hammond got his first chance to put it in the air, missed Leighton Stone on that attempt. Stone in motion, and they put it out on the perimeter. Kelby Valson up to midfield. Next week, Valson goes head-to-head with his brother, Jimmy, a senior wide receiver at Oregon State. Let's bring in Allie LaForce.
Well, Joey told us, Garrett literally grew up under my desk. He doesn't know anything different, and he's another person in the building that can just help the players understand, okay, if you want respect from my dad, here's what you have to do. But the best part is he told us that there's a group text message between Morton, Joey, and Garrett. And Morton likes when there's a chip on his shoulder. He likes when he's the underdog. He likes when people say he can't do something. So they send media articles on there. They send any sort of doubt just to fire him up. They know how to get under his skin in the most positive way. And that's a really unique group text, right? A father, son, a head coach, and a quarterback.
That's awesome. Bryson Jones with the catch there, a former 4-star with the first down.
Pushing all the right buttons, though. And listen, being able to sort of be the dad whisperer in that environment is great, especially for players that you're trying to get going through here, as it looks like we've got a Kent State player right down, maybe adjusting his shoe. Got a timeout on the field.
That's Mason Woods, who's so important to this defense. One of 4 returning starters on that side of the ball. And linebacker is, by reputation, their best unit with Woods and Kanan Williams. This is not the day to see it, of course, but they kind of label themselves the dark side, right? They're a big simulated pressure team, and they think that they're going to have some much better outcomes when they get to MAC play.
People can see the names and stuff like that as a bid or a gimmick, but it's important in trying to create an identity. And we talked earlier in the broadcast, Coach Valeria got named to the job of defensive coordinator in August. And we said, how do you go about trying to install what you want to do, make the changes that are more germane to who you are as a coordinator? He said, you've got to kind of pull yourself back in installing everything that you want to put in, make some tweaks where you can. He mentioned the simulated pressures, but creating this identity amongst your defense and trying to build and forge that continuity in certainly adverse circumstances is a challenge that they face, and that's one of the ways they try and help out.
All day for Will Hammond to pick out a target at the 10. Bryson Jones, touchdown, Red Raiders, 38 yards.
Matt Leftwich said, Will Hammond, he's a good progression passer. And one of the plays he highlighted that he could be really comfortable in is that Y cross. So you get him working all the way across the field here from up underneath. All that attention paid underneath. You see his eyes calmly starting right. Sees that break, and as soon as you get that by receiver Bryson Jones coming out of the break and planting his foot, that ball is out and on the money.
So Bryson's dad, Victor, coached Texas Tech wide receivers coach Justin Johnson in high school. That's one of the lineage connections. And Will Hammond, who's going to hand off quite a bit here as they close this one out, is now 3 for 4. His first touchdown today, second of the season through the year. He also rushed for one last week, as Mike mentioned.
I mean, last week, 4 drives, 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal, productive again today. Started in the Liberty Bowl last year when Baron Morton was hurt after having that shoulder surgery back in December. So he's a guy they really trust. That quarterback room overall, a really tight bunch and one that works together to help each other out a ton. You've seen Baron Morton engaged on the sideline, excited for his guy to get an opportunity.
Here comes Stone Harrington again. Scoops one into the sky. The realist from the one. Let's see if we can spark Kent State instead of crunching hit on teams, and they drag it down inside the 20. All right, we don't want to just talk about Garrett, Joey's son. What about daughter Reagan, a graduate of Texas Tech?
And a design director for Amur, a company that was doing incredibly well. She's very talented. Coach said his kids have both known what they've wanted to do since they were little. But in this case here, this yellow dress may look familiar if you, like me, went to 3 stops on the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, as one of the dresses featured on Taylor Swift, worn by her on some of the graphics put up behind the screen. And that kind of moment produced a really incredible reaction we can't wait to show you from Reagan. Exactly how you should respond when our Lord and Savior Taylor Swift goes out here and reaches out and shows you some love.
You've waited your entire career to just go all out on yellow dress design and your love for Taylor Swift, haven't you? You get that and a thick 6 in the same game, you're spoiled in love with Mike. Flag down in the pursuit of the quarterback in the area of holding. Let's see if this gain of 10 stands for the visitors. Tim Rich, our referee today.
Holding. Offense number 74. After this is for the goal. First down.
All right, it's about to get dusty in here. Be forewarned.
This is my reaction now. Taylor Swift took pictures in one of my dresses for her content, for her tour, and I'm like freaking out. It's so cool.
It was such a cool human dad moment talking about that with Joey McGuire. He said his daughter sent him that, and he's sitting there crying. As a parent, and you're a parent, you can tell me this far better than I can tell you, but I'm sure to watch your kids accomplish their dreams and goals, and at the highest level like that, just has to be a remarkable feeling.
Well, I think it speaks to kind of general environment around these parts. He has done a wonderful job making this facility, this program, feel like a family, and we've heard his players echo that, and so not surprised to see his son and daughter also being so successful in their lives, whether they're playing a role here or being a product of this great university and doing it elsewhere in the world. This is another injured flash. Donovan Delaney, the junior tailback.
For an injured player.
And so we'll stop it again with 3:53 to go in the third before third down and 18.
Boy, you just hate to see this running back room take any more blows. We know Jordan Newman still not available for them. Didn't play last week, was with Clay Patterson for 4 years at Minnesota, and is one of the leaders of this team, still on the sideline. See him going down right here and just getting crunched underneath a boatload of bodies, landing a little awkwardly on that shoulder and forearm area.
You saw the ball came loose a little bit there. I think he put himself in that awkward position to make sure he didn't fumble on the way down and paid the price. Jose Kimbrough's another tailback who's not active today on their depth chart that they would have used against the Red. All right, Marcus Hicks came in at tailback on third down and long, and they fed it to him. He was not able to get the line he needed, so Kent State will punt again.
Just taking care of your quarterbacks at this point. They've been under fire all day, even with the second team unit in now.
Well, special teams was a flex for Tech in that first half as well. Punt takes Tristan Gentry back to his 30. Flag comes in as he crosses the field. Big play potential, but it has the look of one that's coming back. Now, last week they used Roy Alexander in this role. He did muff a punt at the end of the first quarter, recovered it, but a change early in September at punt return for Tech.
During the return, holding. Return team number 30. 10-yard penalty, first down.
And you see that hold right at the end in front of the official. It's always tough coming back from those angles. A lot of special teams coaches will teach what they call a run by, and you saw a little bit of it there. Just try and get your body in between you and the defender when you get caught in a bad angle. Get out of phase, as they say, with the guy in coverage. So
that was Mikhail Harrison-Pilot, 30, who was called for that penalty on the return. He was the one who blocked a punt last week.
Special teams, giving Kenny Perry, the special teams coach, a lot to be excited about and also a lot to coach up, which we'll be looking forward to coming off this one.
So Will Hammond coming off a 38-yard touchdown toss, back at the switch. And Giancarlo Miller in motion, handles a high snap, no sweat, gets away from pressure up the middle, and makes lemonade. 7, maybe 8 on first down.
And now we're seeing more of the backup unit in front of him here. Pressure coming over that right guard spot, now manned by Daniel Sill instead of the usual Davion Carter. So some pressure in areas he maybe wasn't used to with that first team group out there.
Good ball handling at the mesh point to set up a completion to Giancarlo Miller. He gets 6 in a new set of downs. The Red Raiders replacing a couple tight ends, including Jalen Conyers, now with the Miami Dolphins year over year. Hammond, again dealing with pressure from the interior, sails it over the top of Micah Hudson.
It's a great opportunity for developing that group up front behind some of those great transfer players, as you've got now 3 new players on the interior there. Patrick McCaff, your new center in there, struggling a little bit with some edge pressure. But invaluable opportunities you don't have to get as a reserve offensive lineman to come in and get multiple series to work together with the guys that you go to work with in practice.
It's TJ West sauntering across the formation for trips to the wide side. And they do throw it out there. Roy Alexander cut off at the 40. He spent 4 seasons at Albany and then was a top 10 receiver at Incarnate Word last year. Mike, he had 100 catches, 13 touchdowns.
Really impressive, obviously. Incarnate Word, part of the college football zeitgeist after the success of Cam Ward coming from there a few seasons ago. Matt Leftwich had the chance to work with him during that time on there, called him one of the most enjoyable players he's ever gotten to work with.
Oh, it's some elusiveness from Adam Hill. He's not just the hammer as RB3 here in Lubbock. Shortens up a potential 4th down. Let's see if the offense stays on the field as Terrell Miller, a senior corner and the most tenured Golden Flash in his 6th year, appears to have gotten his defense off the grass. They will send the punt team on, Texas Tech.
Jack Burgess, they're going to have to wash the jersey this week.
Second year here after a couple at Weber State. Let's see if he can drop one deep. Yeah, taking it with a fair catch at the 16.
Image and likeness, revenue sharing, where dollar amounts are floated out there. Last year's Ohio State roster, where everyone felt like they had a number to associate with that program. When people know that, whether it's in the conference, I think we heard a lot of that insinuated at Big 12 Media Day by some of Texas Tech's rivals, to nationally, it absolutely heightens the expectations externally, but they're already sky high internally given what they see as the opportunity they've got in front of them.
Final minute of the 3rd, there's a flag down. And Tim Rich wants to consult.
Offside defense lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty enforced from the previous spot. First down.
So Mark Carney will take that penalty and run first down again. Still a quarter to go, but it feels like just the right mix of success and productive work for Texas Tech and plenty to pick at in film as they turn it over week in anticipation of Oregon State.
Definitely, that's what it's all about. You know, Coach said the standard is the standard, and being able to coach to that, have some tough conversations during the week before you start getting to opponents that are going to stress you in far different ways than these first 2 games have.
DeShields cuts one loose, and oh, what a catch! Right in front of his own sideline. A chunk play for Ardell Banks, a sophomore.
Just a great play on the ball by Banks. You see Grant in coverage with him every step of the way. His eyes are back. You think he's going to have the easy interception. And I got to imagine back in the studio, You have a very excited wide receiver watching that Moss attempt, even if it is at the expense of his alma mater.
This is Tech, and before we begin the fourth, let's send it down to the field. Ali LaForce with the head coach.
Well, Coach, another dominant week for you, but in situations like this, what are the habits, what are the attitudes that you're looking to reinforce and continue building character-wise?
Well, frustrated right there because we got the penalty. Because we tell all these guys, when your number's called to come out here and play, no matter what the situation is the standard is the standard. And right now, we've had a couple times we're not playing to that standard. But love the way we started. We started fast. Our guys are playing hard. We're going to play a lot of young guys, and they need these snaps.
You told us last week Morton had such a good rhythm going. You were hoping the injury didn't slow him down. Your impressions of his start this week?
Yeah, I couldn't ask for more because we got exactly what we wanted from him, that he got to play the half. He was in rhythm. It's going to help us so much in the future.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate you as well, Ali. Yeah, Joey said this offseason that Tech has never won the Big 12, never played in the Big 12 championship. That's why this year is so critical. And, you know, one of the things we've observed from being around him this week and today is the way that he works his facility, and today the way that he gets up and down his sideline, Mike.
He talked about being the ultimate CEO. His job is to instill the culture. And that's partly because he trusts his coordinators, right? He gives Matt Leftwich, Sheil Wood, control over their side of the ball so that he can go and fill in the gaps in between, go and bring these guys together. And you see him up and down the sideline, constantly showing that love he preached all week long.
Marcus Hicks in the backfield. DeShields on what looked to be a design run for the quarterback, and can't underscore how important these moments are for him on the road in Big 12 country. We said it earlier, but he had missed 2 full years with knee injuries. Ramping him up for MAC play could be really important.
He had that 79-yard touchdown pass last week to Cade Walford. The legs looking really comfortable, and he's looked composed here in the second half. He got the call coming out of the halftime locker room, and I think has comported himself really well and is starting to figure out the spots where he can use those athletic gifts to his advantage.
3rd down and 2 here for the second Saturday in a row. Texas Tech pitched a first-half shutout. Last week they gave up a second-half touchdown. And they keep the Golden Flashes off the board today. Into the pile. And Stone, he did not get there. Drew DeShields denied by this Texas Tech front, and it's 4th down.
Kind of got caught between worlds there. A little zone read look in the back end. And he keeps holding, and finally just calls his own number near the gap, but doesn't get to use the running back as an extra blocker then. And another 4th down opportunity here where I'd expect more of the same. Use your quarterback's legs to put one of these ends in conflict and see if you can get a rushing lane off the backside of the defense.
And they call Brock Golwas, a freshman, in there on that hit to make him snap it again on 4th down and 1. Pressure from the edge. What a play over the top. And a touchdown saving tackle by Ashton Hampton. Tarek Mulder, a junior from Lexington, Kentucky, leaking out.
They got some big tight ends for Kent State. You see him just sneak out the back door there. Everyone up front, you got heavy personnel. I call it getting big to go small. They think you're going to lean in again and try and get those tough yards up front, and you sneak your tight end out the back door for a really gutsy call.
Sun breaking through for the first time today on a cool fall-like Saturday in September. Short-handed at running back, Kent State nonetheless determined to keep it on the ground. Eddie Smith among those making the play defensively for the deep reserves here on defense for Texas Tech, trying to earn more opportunity.
And this is one where all of a sudden you'll see the veterans on the sideline engaged in this kind of game. I'm sure they want to preserve the shutout. You got these guys now with an opportunity, and this is what you always drill as a coach. You want your older guys, your veterans, staying engaged, helping coach up the young guys on this team in a critical moment like this.
Couple of tight ends attached to this formation. Drew on the keeper. He's got a lane. He's got a touchdown. Drew DeShields from the 10, and Kent State is on the board.
We talked about Kent State using his legs here. You're going to see the counter pullers from the backside here. Quarterback's going to pause for that handoff, let the pullers get to the front side. A great seal by his offensive lineman, and then put some of those wheels that we've been hearing about on display.
We're talking moral victories here, but in terms of that 4th down conversion, the play call and execution, and then DeShields, it's not just getting on the field, it's taking that contact and rising to the next occasion. And I think that's a building block for this year. 6 games against Power 4 opponents for the Big 12 this weekend. 2 apiece against the ACC, Big 10, and SEC. I mentioned that because one of those games will be played by that Arizona State team that we just mentioned, right? They're going to Mississippi State tonight.
Going on the road to hear all those cowbells. This one sails out of the back of the end zone for a touchback.
So we expect to get another look at Will Hammond, who is 5 of 7 for 66 yards and a touchdown so far. And through the first 2 games, this is how dominant it has been for Texas Tech football.
The yardage margin jumps out to you, and the turnover margin, which I know they'll be thrilled about here. We mentioned Sheil Wood, the defensive coordinator, seen plenty of that along his stops, especially go back a couple of years to the defense he coached up at Tulane, was 3rd in FBS in turnover margin. A phenomenal job taking care of the ball and taking it away on defense.
So after Kent State got on the board for the first time, Texas Tech will run it up to the 30 as we welcome Cody Campbell, a special guest, an alum, a former player, the leader of the Matador Club, and so much more. First of all, thank you in this community for your hospitality. Mike and I making our first visit here. It has been a bucket list occasion for us, and we just had the time of our lives. Well, I hate to welcome you on that note as Texas Tech coughs it up and Kent State recovers.
No, we don't want to see that. No, but really happy to have you guys here and welcome to Lubbock. You know, we typically get the reputation that there's just a bunch of tumbleweeds blowing through town, but you guys can testify. It's a city that is bigger than people think. A lot going on here, good restaurants, lovely place to live, great place to play football.
We've certainly seen that all week here. I mean, you mentioned it's been a great welcoming town, but the new facility you guys opened up in this last year, the new roster taking shape here. As someone who this school means so much to you, what's it like to watch that vision take shape for what you think Texas Tech football can be in this era?
Well, it's been amazing. You know, we've had a great group of people come together. All of our leadership, our board of regents, our boosters are all completely aligned. We all want the same thing. We want to elevate this program to where we know it belongs, to the place that we know it belongs. So we built a $250 million football facility. We have we raised more money than any other NIL collective over the last few years, over $63 million. We have the support that we need from the community. Plus, we sit on the largest oil field in the world. That helps quite a bit. And so we have all the resources we need. You know, I've never really understood why it matters if you won a national championship in 1948, right? That's not a reason that you should win this year. We have all the pieces in place to do everything that we need to do. We have the talent, we have the coaching staff, we have the facilities, we have the support from the community, we have the support from the boosters, we have the support from leadership at the university level. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a huge amount of success over the next few years.
You know, of the 3 of us, I'm the only one who did not play offensive line college football and then make it for a minute in the pros as well. So I shouldn't be the one asking this question, but the investment you talk about, how important was it to build out the trenches on both sides of the football? As I know the rallying cry around here is pretty close to becoming I did.
That's it. Well, hey, look, the game is won in the trenches. The game is won up front. And so we've prioritized that. You've seen how our defensive line is played. Right now we have our 3rd, maybe 4th string in there. But when you see our first line guys in there, they're pretty hard to stop. Same thing on the offensive line. You know, we've completely turned things over there and are fairly dominant up front. So that's been the goal for the last couple of years, is to really build that up. There's a time during the Leach era, which is when I played, where 4 or 5 of our offensive linemen would play in the NFL after they were done. And that was the key to our success. Everybody focused on the air raid and all the passes we threw. Honestly, it was largely because we were really good protecting up front. And so that's what we've been focused on over the last couple of years, is not just bringing in transfers, but also building that development pipeline, because as we offensive linemen know, it's a developmental position. You don't come in as an 18-year-old kid being ready to play. It's a grown man. It's a grown man position. And so we have to get those kids ready to play. And so we're super happy with the last few freshman recruiting classes we've gotten, and also we've been able to supplement that with some great transfers. And so, you know, we're going to be able to play a tough, physical brand of football throughout the course of this season, and really excited about the possibilities.
Well, thank you for joining us on Game Day. Really appreciate the chance to meet you. We know you're playing a leading role, not just here at Texas Tech, but across college sports and where we go from here. Cody Campbell with us on TNT to a 16-yard touchdown pass from Drew DeShields to Cade Wolford.
Just a great job of putting shoulder right into the ball there against Adam Hill. And then great touch here from Drew DeShields, who's acquitted himself incredibly well in this second half, getting all this extended action. You understand and account for the fact that it's against a lot of the deep reserves for this Texas Tech defense, but I think he's giving this coaching staff a lot to think about in terms of their quarterback decision as they get ready for MAC play.
Yeah, they're home to Buffalo next, then at Florida State, the team that just beat Bama, a bye, and then at a ranked Oklahoma as well. This will be their 23rd straight FBS loss, but it's been a pleasure getting to know Mark Carney and his staff, and they're certainly saying all the right things and hope that they have the health to maybe go get a couple more wins this year.
Certainly trying to instill that for, you know, Mark Carney. When we asked him point blank, do you want this job long term as they get set for a national search after the season? He said, yes, I want to raise my kids here in Ohio. I want to send them to St. Ed's. He's got a lot of pride in this area and who Kent State can be as a program.
They're winning this frame, this fourth quarter, 14-0. Let's see if Will Hammond and the reserves on offense can salt this one away. Adam Hill gets the carry, and carry is the appropriate word as he drags Golden Flashes up to the 30. Mike, why does it feel like the net worth of our booth has fallen precipitously in the last 5 minutes?
I was looking to see if any change fell out on the way. I'm not going to lie. Use it for a bite before the airport. I'm just more the mass. Again, both of us played offensive line. Only one of us has the barrel chest to go out there and move people still.
Our bad on the timing with that Cody Campbell conversation, leading to the fumble turn touchdown. And we didn't get nearly as much time as we were hoping to with one of the leading voices right now in college football. Here's a good one. Well blocked through the right side. Stepping through an ankle tackle, Adam Hill will not be denied. 23 more.
That's how you go make good and respond, right? Turn the page in between drives. You give up a fumble and a turnover on the drive before. And this time shed a few tackles. We saw him early when he got in. Pop a run off the right side. Now going back to the well on that, moving sticks.
You know, Chris Levels, the sideline reporter for the Texas Tech radio network, he described Adam Hill as the epitome of Texas high school football, a two-time state champ at Albany. He throws on the money to the 40. Roy Alexander fighting for first down yardage to the 33, a dozen through the air from Will Hammond.
And I think that's a great point, JB. Texas high school football. Joey McGuire is a Texas high school football Hall of Famer. We've talked about Kenny Perry, who feels like the mayor every time at these coaching conventions here. This staff understands the bedrock of who they're going to be as a program, not just this year, but in the future, is going to be through their recruiting pipeline, what they do developing the players that they bring into this program. Not just in the portal and the big names that you see, but also the guys that they're bringing in as part of those high school classes every year.
All right, so you're saying the identity, the roots of this program will not be shaken by a free agent class?
No, and quite the opposite. I think it gives you a chance to develop those guys at a better pace in front of guys that have played a lot of high-level football. It's a great teaching tool for these players, similar to having a veteran player in a young room in the NFL where they get to learn how to be starters, learn how to be pros at this level. That could go a long way.
Nearly intercepted. A free runner at the quarterback. Almost disastrous there. Texas Tech will keep it with just under 8 to go.
This defensive line,
Jahi and Roy with the hit,
making their presence felt in this second half. This is a great look as a backup offensive lineman myself back in the day for the early portion of my career. Usually get like a series at the end of a game. To be able to string together multiple drives where the adrenaline can wear off and you can just play football and try to execute what you've been taught is valuable.
That's a dot right between the hash marks. Alexander going to the ground for a new set of downs in the red zone. 15 on the pickup.
Confident strike over the middle, great timing, and getting away from the hit there for Alexander.
Will Hammond with the command at the line of scrimmage. They say he's super cerebral, right? He's a perfectionist. He wants to have everything aligned pre-snap before triggering.
It's interesting hearing that about a couple of the guys in their offense. Starting center Sheridan Wilson, coach just said was probably the most improved player on the offense, and said similarly he's a guy that wants to see everything right, make the exact right call every time, which is great. But at some point, you got to make the call and let it fly. And for both of these guys, getting more comfortable, trusting what their eyes are telling them, and then executing, been great so far through these first 2 games.
He's going to split out left, so they motion to empty. QB drop behind his blocks, picking his way to pay dirt. Touchdown, Will Hammond. The Red Raiders are rolling.
He said, all right, you want a mobile quarterback? I got something for you, Kent State. As we saw the Golden Flash show off the wheels for their quarterback and Drew Shields a couple of drives ago. This time around, same thing. You motion the running back out of the box, you lighten this area a little bit, a few defenders, and then run the same quarterback power package that we saw before. Great vision, sneaking up underneath that block by the pulling lineman.
They're north of 60. They've got over 500 yards of time honored here, but also in our TNT Sports studio today. Mike Golick Jr., J.B. Long. I said this off the top. He was one of my all-time favorite college players. I thought he was the best college football receiver I had ever seen. I still think that holds true today. Michael Crabtree, how has your afternoon been?
Oh, great, great. It's been amazing. Here in the studio, having a great time.
Well, everyone's excited to hear from you all over, but especially out here in Lubbock. Michael, we just talked to Cody about this community and how they've rallied the team. What are your thoughts just about the way that this community here in Lubbock has always supported the football program at Texas Tech?
Cody's leading the ship, man. He's doing his thing. The last time I talked to Cody, he was saying what he was going to do. And I look at the facilities and all the money that's been raised through all the groups, alumni and everything, but lately it's been Cody leading the guys. So he's been doing a great job. And like I say, hats off to Cody and John and the rest of the guys.
All right, well, keep Lefko honest. We'll have it to you in 6:49 of game time here in Lubbock. Coming up, the Big 12 college football post game presented by Geico with Adam Takio, Spikes, Champ Bailey, and Michael Crabtree in for Victor Cruz today. One of my all-time favorite college football moments involved Crabtree. That was in Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's a story for another day, though, Mike, because now I'm a man and 40.
Wow.
And some.
And that speech is now, I believe, almost 18 years old at the end of this month.
Don't remind me. Best things in college football should be a fun conversation, especially with DeWillis Clark in attendance today. I'm sure that was part of the inspiration. Well, Drew DeShields led a couple of good scoring drives here. Maybe starting to feel it. It was a good ball, even though it was dropped inside the 40-yard line.
He's looked like such a confident player, half to half. Again, going in the first half, it's tough when you're getting substituted in for maybe a drive. You don't know how long you're going to have. Now, this extended look for him. And that pass right on the money. Just couldn't bring it in.
Tian Hunter, the freshman, was the target here. One of 37 Ohioans on this roster.
And I think the amount of times you've seen DeShields throwing on the run, super positive, that can be a major strength and a game changer for this offense.
Certainly able to call this game differently now that the top line of the Texas Tech defense is done for the day. Concerned about their depletion at running back, however. Coming after Drew here. Able to dodge that first wave. Nearly picked off.
Totally understand, but I mean, this Texas Tech second, third unit on defense, they got a lot of work last week, too. This is a group that's actually got some game reps under their belt already this season. So they were able to go back, correct mistakes from last week, understood they probably had an opportunity to get in here as well. So a bit of a different animal in terms of the depth that you have built here in Texas Tech.
Price Morgan, a receiver, taking his turn as the punt returner for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They held Kent State to 229 yards of offense today. And that'll roll dead at about the 17-yard line. Let's take a look at Texas Tech's upcoming schedule presented by Modelo. They level up against Oregon State coming up next, and then everything seems to be building towards that trip to Salt Lake City. I said it earlier, but we know that Utah has a couple of future pros on their offensive line, and today we've seen the future pros on the defensive front for Texas Tech.
That's going to be one of the first game tapes that NFL scouting personnel throw on when they look at all these guys to see what it looks like when it's best on best, Sunday guy versus Sunday guy. Two teams on one side, a veteran quarterback in Baron Morton who's been here. The other side, Devin Dampier, the New Mexico transfer, who's instilling a big shot of life in that position in Salt Lake.
Did he ever make a statement at the Rose Bowl? You and I saw him last year in Albuquerque. Not surprised to see him find early success. Mitch Griffiths is the new quarterback, and he's cut down with a run of 12 yards and a first down. What an insurance policy for this QB depth chart to have someone with Power 5 conference starting experience at Wake Forest now joining forces here in Lubbock.
Talked to Matt Leftwich about him. Just an incredible story. He was a captain at Wake Forest, took over that starting job when Sam Hartman left for Notre Dame. Ended up on the bench by the end of the year, and then transferred to Marshall and left the program for a while. Thought he was done with football. Actually spent last season as a project manager for a concrete company, and then realized, hey, I still have more to give to the game. I still want to be involved, and tweeted about it. And Matt Leftwich had recruited him some at Texas State, so he sent him a note and said he's been a real asset to this quarterback room. He's great for Baron Morton as another set of eyes, and overall just a great glue guy in that room.
Able to get Michael Deaver a catch there, the freshman in the box score. Mitch coming up on a 24th birthday Tuesday and getting some work deep in the game for the second Saturday in a row. Another rumble for Hill here. He turns the corner at the 50. And as he tight ropes the sidewalk, the field judge had him out of bounds. Somewhere across midfield, we believe. We'll see where they spot it.
Ooh, let's take a look at the high wire act here along the sideline. Again, just erasing the angle from the safety coming down, trying to make the play, and did just step out there as we also, it appeared, had a flag down the field as well.
You saw that block.
Holding, offense number 84. 10-yard penalty enforcing the spot of the foul. It results in a first down.
Deaver competing, you just got the catch. Now out on the edge, takes the holding.
Good runs happen when the O-line blocks well. Great runs happen when the wide receiver room blocks well. Love the effort there. Just got to keep the hands in play. It's tough on the perimeter. A lot of space out there. Not envious of that.
4:20 and rolling left here in Lubbock. Texas Tech has not trailed so far this September. Another ball carrier spun down for a loss as Darian Blackowitz gets a TFL.
Great penetration on that play as we got another Kent State player down.
For player.
Some leeway to understand and identify if they see a guy that's really hurting.
There's Michael Henderson hurting on the trainer's table for Texas Tech as well. That rush bottled up. They bought their QB some time. And Mitch Griffiths hits Price Morgan for a dozen and a new set of downs.
Like you said, I mean, a guy that's been a Power 5 starter already is out here Neo in the matrix seeing zeros and ones while a lot of young guys are trying to just get their feet underneath them.
It might feel like all the hay is in the barn, but I think there are a few interested parties still keeping a close eye on this final drive for Texas Tech. To salt away their second victory. Big run here, right side. Hill lowers the shoulder and spills inside the 35.
Some really strong blocking up front from this third unit getting in. Last week, you look back, they had 4 freshman offensive linemen and a redshirt freshman finish the game. Getting those guys on the field, just awesome to see them get the opportunity.
A chance to break 100 yards for Hill on this next carry. Instead, he's going backward. And based on the way the clock's aligned there, it does not look like Tech has to snap it again before our 2-minute timeout. Syed Abu Hamda, a sophomore linebacker, gets a tackle there.
I think the play clock might be 1 second.
Yep.
I mean, it's as close as it can get. Can't fault you for that.
Griffiths, the third quarterback, and the senior. Does beat the buzzer, so to speak. Look at this. It breaks around the left side and nearly went the distance. Another first down in the high red area when we continue. 13, maybe 14 for Hill. He's north of 100. Adam Hill in the backfield, working with third quarterback Mitch Griffiths as they try and salt away the final 2 minutes before turning their attention to Oregon State next here in Lubbock.
Mitch Griffiths saying, I saw all those QB runs you called before. I'd like some of that.
Yeah.
Good ball security as well from the veteran third stringer. And it looks like we're going to get the best formation in football right here. Two tight diamond, victory kneel.
Well, I think this was an ideal Saturday, week 2, for everyone involved with Texas Tech football. I mean, this was essentially the plan they had hoped for. Get out early, make sure your quarterback is healthy and in rhythm as the competition gets more fierce. Get Will Hammond some work. Hammond goes for 94 yards and a touchdown, and let Mitch Griffiths finish with a knee.
All across the board, still plenty of work to correct. Plenty of things they're going to want to have dialed in as they get set for Big 12 play. But to your point, especially coming off last week with Baron Morton. One, that he was healthy, that you avoided the worst possible catastrophe for a season with so many hopes and ambitions riding on it. But then also able to get good work, able to get live work, and now have another week and another batch of film to go back in the lab with.
Producer Kevin Brown, our director Brent Kristen. Thanks to Josh Padilla from Kent State and Matthew Dowdy from Texas Tech, the sports information directors, for their support of this broadcast. Thanks to Mark Carney and Kent State for sharing what he's trying to build in Northeast Ohio with us, and to our hosts at Texas Tech. Convincing winners, once again, 62-14 over Kent State to improve to 2-0.
As advertised, right? This portal class we talked about off the top, the new coaches brought in as a part of this staff here. A lot to be impressed with on both sides up front as they look to bolster the lines of scrimmage and make a run here this season.
624 yards of total offense. They did punt for the first time. They did get a little ball insecure late. Like we said, enough positives to maintain momentum and plenty of things to clean up to maintain traction. With that, let's send it down to Joey McGuire with Allie LaForce.
Well, Coach, congratulations on another big win. If you're a fan, you're looking at this and you're going, wow, what a dominant start. But I know as a coaching staff, you're far from celebrating just yet. So what can you build off of after this one?
Yeah, you know, we can't lose our focus. We had some sloppy football. We put the ball on the ground. Again, we all know, like, whoever steps on that field, because there's going to be guys that get hurt. You're going to have to play a game, you know, to where somebody that you didn't think was going to play is going to play. So you've got to play at our level. And so we'll have to clean that up. We had a couple penalties that were frustrating on the punt return team. We had some big returns, and so, you know, we've got one more non-conference game. This could be a big game. Next week gets Oregon State, and then we start conference.
Absolutely. I asked you about Baron at the end of the third quarter, then Will came in and kind of seamlessly transitioned you. Now I have to ask you about Will. What did you like? What's promising about the way he's playing early? Yeah, he's special. You know, he's a redshirt freshman. Got to play in the bowl game last year. This has been big. You know, this has been our plan. We wanted to come out and, you know, at halftime we said we're going to run our offense. So I thought Will did a great job running the offense. A lot to look forward to. Thanks so much, Coach. Thank you very much. All righty.